Hey, everybody. I think this will be a good session today. I think a lot of people have been looking forward to this one, going into some of the more advanced features. I just posted a message to see if Jamie Chandler's on the chat window. Let me make sure she's ready because she's going to be the one that, like before, will monitor the messages. That way I can just kind of focus on I've got three screens here. My left screen is the content I'm going to cover. Of course, the middle screen is just the webcam. Right screen is the things that she posts out there. Okay, yeah, she says she's good to go. Let me make sure she's listed as a moderator. Okay, yeah, she's good. All right, so I wanted to first talk about some new features I added in on Tuesday. I spent a couple hours. Wanted to have a couple surprises for this video. Plus, there's some things that people have been requesting for a little while, and I thought, it's a good day to add it in. Had a rare free day, so we're going to dive into those first. And the first one I'm just going to tell you about because I don't have my Motorola reader hooked up or the Zebra reader. But I was working with a user and he had an Appends reader, and I took advantage because I don't have an Appends reader with me. And so let me pull up the questions here. So I had remoted his computer, and we did quite a bit of work on making sure that the power coming out of the Appends reader when you're programming tags is just, you got to get the tag within a foot or two, because just like in the past, if you tried to use those big readers to program your tags, you'd pick up every tag in your house because, it's full power by default. And so I've updated the software. It's on the website now if anyone wants to download it, where now if you use the big Motorola readers, in the past, a lot of people would use the Thinkify reader that you see here, or a ThinkMagic, or they would make or buy a little adapter that goes in the back of the big reader so it's not reading so strong. But with this update now, it'll by default drop the power down to about as low as it'll go. In fact, with the Zebra readers, it is as low as it goes. And so that means with some testing, I found that it's about 2 feet, maybe 3 feet top, that you get that tag within the antenna and it'll finally pick it up. So that'll help when you're programming tags, not to pick up every tag in the house, just the tag you want. So that's on the website now. And I wanted to add, show you a new feature I've added in here. After the very first video, I had a guy make a claim that I thought was totally bogus, and it turns out there's some validity to it. So I got to give him props for that, Paul. And so basically I've always, looked at the diagrams and talked about how there's a knife edge view to the antenna, and, equated it in my mind because of, the documentation, the way I interpreted it, and the way I saw it, and plus just years of feedback from users, saying, okay, I made this small change with the antenna or tag placement, and, no problems with read rates at all. But my assumption was that when the tag is even in open air, if it's knife edge to the antenna, like you see here, it's knife edge to the camera, then you're getting very little power to the tag. And with some testing, we added a feature into the software. I think Paul had this in his software, but it's a little different. But I'll switch it to the screen now so you can see what it does. So this is a new feature in the software. If you want to get out there and play with different tag placements or antenna placements, or just whatever you want to play with. This is kind of more for the nerds out there that have time to play with this stuff. So let me switch it to the desktop view. Now, for all of today's examples, we're going to use just the Thinkify readers, just because they're so quick and easy to hook up and test with. So you'll see this new button over here called, the RFID tag test, basically. And so this screen over here is a traditional button that's been there for a long time, where you can get, test all your readers, see all your antennas, see which ones are working or not. But this is a new screen that if you click on it, it's by default, I try to make the font real big. That way you can see it from a distance. But the way this works is you can say, hey, I'm going to test, knife edge, or I can say like 90-degree angle, or you can test like, hey, 50 feet away. How far. So you can put whatever description of your test you want in here. So I'm just going to say, let's just do angle test. Now I'm not really going to hold the tag at an angle, but I am going to present the tag. So I've got an antenna over here. This is going to be my finish line antenna, and all the examples I give. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the tag, kind of waving it up and down, and you'll see how that rate changes as we go up and down. So back to the screen. So what you do is you put in a description of what you're trying to test. and you can put in how long you want that test to be for, and I think the maximum is like 120 seconds, so just a couple minutes. Most tests, within a couple seconds, you have a clue if you're getting good reads or not. But now you can click on Start, and I'm going to present the tag right now, and you'll see that right now I've got the tag almost touching the antenna, and as I move it higher, you'll see that the RSSI numbers at the top will start going lower, and the number of reads will start dropping. So as I go lower, it goes faster. And so this will let you turn the tag different ways, try antennas different ways, test different types of tags. So for example, I got a hue tag right here, and I'm going to call this second test tag. And I'm going to just place it right on top of the antenna. And I'll let you just get a quick view here. Let me find my mouse. So I got the hue tag right here, and I'm just going to move it up and down from the antenna and let you see. So this screen will let you do all kinds of tests like that. So let's go to Start, and with that antenna, the tag right on it, and I'm going to put the antenna or tag real high. And you'll see, I notice with the hue tag, if my fingers are actually touching the tag itself, it drops down quite a bit on the performance. And even without my fingers on it, whenever I put the tag, higher like this compared to a traditional just inlay, it seems like it's not reading as fast or as well. So the thing is, this is a feature you can try all kinds of stuff and learn about different tag types, different antenna types. So if you get a brand new antenna in from somewhere and you want to see, hey, how does this antenna compare with my other antennas? Maybe set the tag where it's stationary and simply swap out your antennas, and then you can look at, what is my average power? What's the average number of reads in 15 seconds or however long? So kind of a cool little feature I've added in. Again, compliments to Paul for kind of being a little difficult on the whole knife edge thing, but the result was something I think I learned from. So I don't know if you learned anything from it, but it also added a new feature to the software here. So this will work with any reader. I think I've got it working with every reader. I know with Zebras, Motorola readers, Thinkifies. I think I've got Append and Alien, all those in there. So again, that's a feature that is here. So on the settings screen. All right, so let me see. I think there's already a question. I'll just save some of these till the end. So let me go to the next point here. So someone had a recommendation, another new feature added in. Someone had a recommendation that whenever you have multiple races going on the same day, for example, this is the ones we set up last week, the 5K, 10K. Let's imagine you had a single file that contained all participants across all races, instead of one file for the 5K and another file for the 10K. Well, in the past, you would pull up just the 10K, and you would go to like delimited file or Excel file, whatever type of file it was. And let's just say it's a delimited file. And I'm going to pick this file. Let's imagine this file contained both 5K and 10K. I would open it up, and I'm assuming there would be a column here that said 5K or 10K or whatever event they registered for. And so if I was going to pull in only, let's say the top 35 here are just 10K participants. Now, of course, you can click on any one of these columns and sort it. So I can sort it by age or whatever. So I would obviously click on the race column and sort it by that. But the way this works is you would highlight the first 35, and you'd say, I want to import just the selected records, and you'd hit import, and then you'd close the screen out, go to the other race, and do the same thing. The alternative is you can select the records you don't want and hit delete, and then import all of them. But typically, I would just do selected records, highlight the records I want, and import. Well, now on this screen, you can select the race you want, hit import, and then select the next race, and then select the other records, and then import those. And so this will let you kind of format everything, get it all perfect, sort it by the race, and then import into each one of your races without having to close out the screen, pull it back up, select the file again, maybe have to drag the columns all around again, and then do your second race. So it should speed up the process quite a bit if you're having to continuously pull in files. I think there was one other new feature, but that's the main three I was going to show. So we're going to dig into, and most of this video probably will be just looking at the laptop screen here, because we're going to dig, move as quick as I can through some of the more advanced features. But first, I want to kind of touch base a little bit on what we left off on last week. It does fit in for this week because it's a little more advanced type of races, but we're going to talk about how to quickly set up and time different types of races. Because if you are a race timer and you always time 5K and 10K races, and all of a sudden a local high school or a local college decides, hey, we want to have a cross country meet. We want to hire you for timing. Well, if you've never done a cross country meet, I'm going to show you real quick the things you need to ask and how you set that up. Or maybe there's maybe you've always done 5K and 10K races, and there's a stair climb race that you were thinking about putting a bid on. You want to know, can the system handle it? Or maybe it's a relay race. You want to know how to set it up. And then we're also going to look at like triathlons and different stuff. So we're going to move quickly through this. Obviously, this is a video, so I know that 95% of people that are watching this are not going to be on the live stream. They're going to be watching it later, so they can stop, rewind, go back. So we're going to move kind of quick. Before I do, I'm going to take a quick look at the questions. Upstate would ultra. That would also apply for tag check and results kiosk, lowering the power. So right now, I thought about it. Right now, the programming of tags the dropping of power only applies to the program tag screen, because that's where the vast majority of people ask for it. I thought about it too, where the tag check screen would maybe drop down in power. And what I do in that, and I'll switch back to the webcam view. What I do with that is whenever I set up my tag check, I actually set my antenna just like this. Now it's possible you've got like a low metal roof building where maybe it could cause problems, but I use the Thinkify reader anyway. But a lot of people don't have that. And so even with the Motorola reader, most places I set the antenna up like this, and the tag isn't picked up until I actually place it over the area. So it's not been a high demand thing to make the other screens have a either customizable power output or just by default they just go to lower power. So if that becomes a high demand thing, then I'll add it in. But right now it's only the programming tag screen. There's a way to show those numbers in a graphical way. Okay, so Kurt is asking that screen, the new feature I showed you, maybe having a report where you can see, a graph of reads maybe over that time period. Possibly, I threw this feature in quickly, simply to try to prove a point that tag angle does matter. Now, what we kind of come to a consensus on is tag angle does matter, especially when it's close to the body. I didn't know how little it mattered whenever it's out and open free air. Now, of course, if you're putting a tag on a runner, it's most of the time going to be close to their body in some way. So my recommendation is still to have the tag facing the antenna as much as possible. But I threw this screen together quickly, simply so that Paul and I can discover, wait a minute, does it really matter as much as I claim that the angle? And I don't know that either one of us conceded that one's right or wrong. I will say that Paul taught me a lesson that when it's out in open air, and you can get this feature and try it yourself. Hold a tag out, out in open air, and you'll see that the read rates and number of reads actually doesn't go down, and the average power getting to the tag doesn't go down that much. And again, you put that close to your body and it drops dramatically. But so I don't know that it really proved anything, but this feature was added in kind of quickly. It'll probably be improved over time. But yeah, no reports based on it right now. Now you can, I think, with all of the lists. Let's pull this feature back up. With every list view in the system, let's just do a quick test here. Wait 15 seconds. Let me throw another tag on there. All right. So whenever you do get results in the list, if you wanted to print these, now I thought I had it to where this list view. No, okay, so this one isn't using my custom list view. I can easily make it to where you can right click and then export this out to like a file. Or if I needed to make a custom report with some kind of graphs on it, I could probably do that. But right now it's just view only. Okay, so close that out. All right, so we're going to look quickly on setting up a time-based race. So obviously this is a race that, let's say it's a 3-mile course, and participants have an hour to run as many laps as they can. And so I'm going to show you how to set that up. So this will be kind of quick. When you're setting up a time-based race, let's just imagine this is not a 10K. Let's just say it's in fact, let me just duplicate it. Hit no for that. So we'll call this, instead of the 10K, we'll say time-based. example. And so the key thing to remember when you're setting up a time-based race is that you want to set the number of laps equal to something that's physically impossible to achieve. So if you know that they can't, a human being is not going to run more than, they're not going to run up to 20 miles an hour. So you can just say, okay, well, I'm going to say it's impossible for someone to complete 25 laps of a 3-mile course in an hour. And you can really set it to 1,000, doesn't really matter. But the thing is that you don't want the software to stop counting for somebody simply because they reached the maximum laps. When you set the race up as a most laps completed, then the system will base the results, the reports and everything, even though results kiosk sticker and everything will be based on who completed the most number of laps, and then it'll use the distance you set up for each lap here as the distance to base their speed and pace and everything else on. So your main thing when you're setting up a time-based race is to set this to most laps completed, and then set this number of laps to something that's physically unattainable. Now, if you did have some kind of race, because I've heard of one before, where it was based on number of laps, but at the same time, if they reached a certain distance, then they were done. And it was just whoever completed, if someone did happen to complete, in this example, let's say 25 laps, then the software, for every time it sees people that have the same number, it'll put in order the ones that completed that number of laps first. So if I completed 25 laps before you did, then of course I win the race. So just some key concepts there. Now, of course, with each one of these, let's say the distance is exactly 5,000 meters for all, then you can just hit apply to all. And the gap time here, I probably mentioned in a previous video. That's how long does the software ignore a tag when it comes by before it registers another read of that tag as a new split. And so with a race like this, 5,000 meters, of course, you can set it up to like, some crazy high number, let's say 600 or 6,000 or whatever. I have to do my math on it to see how far that is. But I think, that should be 10 minutes, of course, 600 seconds. And so that would be a safe gap time. You can apply that to all. So that's how you set up a time-based race. Let me see the option on the clock screen show. Okay, yeah. So while you've got a time-based race set up, I do want to show you this. So let's just add in myself here. And one option that's on the clock screen you need to be aware of anytime you're timing a race with multiple laps is this option here. Let's say you've got the public display open. And so this is a screen that you would dock onto another window. You'd drag it off at least 50%, and then when you double click, it would dock on the other screen just like this right here. And so what happens is if you're timing a time-based race, you see this option right here where it says lap time or total time. And so some races you may want to have it to where let's say it's a 400-meter loop, then you want to have it say 75 seconds. And then next time around, maybe it's 74 seconds, right? And you want to see the total lap time and not the total time. Or you may have some races where if it's 400 meters, it says 75 seconds first time around, and then 228 for the second time. If it's 75 seconds and then 74 seconds. And so just be aware that when you're timing a time-based race, if you're going to have a public display, which of course shows their name and time, split time, then you can either base it on lap time or total time. Now I set a gap time that's really high, so it's not going to let me put another one in. But if I put another one in, it would say lap 2 at 10 seconds if I did lap time instead of total time. So just be aware that's the other setting that you may want to toggle for time-based races. So anyways, that's how you set up a time-based race. Again, we're going to move quickly through these because the video you can go back and watch it again. All right, so the next race is a cross-country race. So let's change this from a time-based race to a art session XC invite. And so with this, you're going to set this equal to a track or cross-country race. Of course, we're going to set this as a finishing time. And of course, here you can set the distance. Let's say it's an 8K. And we're going to set it to, most cross-country races are 1 lap. Now, of course, there are some courses where they run right through the finish line or right by the finish line twice. I've ran some of those back in college. And if it is, you can definitely set it up as a 2-lap race or whatever. But I'm going to set it up as a 1-lap race for now. I'm going to set the clock back to 0. All right, so yeah, most laps completed. You got to set it back to track or cross country. Here you're going to set your scores and displacers. You can click on the question mark button if you're not sure what that is. I'll give a brief description. Most cross country races, you're going to have 5 scores, which means cross country team may have 8, 10, 12 people on it or more. And the way it works is the fastest 5 of your team are actually who gets scored. In most your standard cross country setup. And then 2 more people from your team can achieve a score, but it doesn't count towards your team. It simply counts against the other teams by simply pushing their score down. And so your typical setup is going to have 5 scores and 2 displacers. And so again, those 2 extra after your top 5, they do get a score. But if you look at your team score, let's say you finish 1 through 5, your team just blows everybody away. Your first place guy and your 5th place guy, you're just 1 through 5. And so your total team score, I believe, is like 15. And let's say that your next 2 were also studs and they finished place 6 and 7. Well, what would happen is they get a score of 6, and your last guy, number 7, gets a score of 7. However, your team score is still 15 based on your top 5. Well, then the next team that finishes the first place, the 8th place guy on another team, he gets a score of 8, not a score of 6. And so that's kind of how it pushes the other teams back. And so that's where you set that up. And so if you're being hired to time your first cross-country meet, you do want to know what is the scores, and some people call them pushers or displacers, and this is where you set that up. All right, and then here's we can create your teams. I showed you before. You can, if you timed a cross country meet before, you can just check the teams off if they're already in the list, or you hit the plus button and add in the team stuff. Now, if you're going to have a team that, let's say it's an unattached team, you can say exclude from team results. Some people do like dual meets, where you have maybe 4 teams running, but you want to score it based on these 2 versus these 2, and then maybe these 2 versus the other 2, and kind of rotate that. It's kind of a weird thing. I know people do all those different. Whenever the team results come up, you can actually select which teams you want to include. But if you had a team, for example, that was an unattached team that you always want excluded, then you can check this box here for it. Okay, so I was going to talk. I don't want to go to too much detail on the actual timing of cross country. I think there's some examples in here I can just pull up. So let's just do this one here. So the way the results look here, again, we'll ask you which teams you want to include. So we could uncheck some or whatever, but let's just put them all in there. And page 1 is going to be on the left side, the teams that had enough finishers to meet the number of scores. So 5, for example. And then on the right side are the teams that didn't have enough participants, finishers to qualify for the team results. But it did let you know, hey, of the 4, here is their team average time. Here's the total number of finishers that team had. But these are the non-scoring teams, so not going to be listed, as winners or whatever. And so page 2 it's really page 2, probably through 4 on this report, is all the teams and then all their members and how they did. So if there's this is their scores and the displacers. So here you can see the ones that are in italic and not bolded. That means those are displacers. So they did receive a score, but it didn't count towards their team. So if you add all these numbers up, 6, 8, 10, 12, 20, or 14, that should be 38. And that's another thing. And then page 4 is basically, so this one report is like 3 reports in one. Page 1 is simply your teams and the winners. Page 2 is teams in order of how they finished, but then how each team member did. And then the section 3 is simply overall results, position and score, and so on. I know that people outside of the U.S., you may have saw an option here. This was added not too long ago, where you can do IAAF standard or NCAA standard, and you click on the button here. The only difference is with IAAF standard is that every finisher receives a score, and so you'll see the scores here are a little different. If you go to the last page, there are no zeros anymore. It's if you finish, you've got a score. So that's the difference. Okay, so I want to talk about the coaches packet. Now, I wish I would have created one before I did the video here, but what I do is I get a Ziploc bag. Some people use the yellow envelopes, but I like to use like a Ziploc bag because if it rains or if it's got a lot of dew in the grass, then they can just throw that thing down and it's not getting all nasty. A Ziploc bag has a place where they make a big white section where you're supposed to write like maybe vegetables or whatever you're going to write, what's in the Ziploc bag. Well, I write the team name on that. And there's actually a report in the software now called Team Labels. You can just print that off on a little label, stick it on the bag, and it's even easier. So I get a gallon Ziploc bag, and then I print off a roster, and I threw mine away that I did last week, but I fold it in half so that the names are on the outside. And inside this piece of paper, inside there, I've got the bibs and the tags. And then that way, I actually do a roster for every race. That way the coach pulls out that roster. It's like, okay, well, here's the athletes, and I can see what bib number and tags, of course, they're attached to the bib, that they're supposed to wear. So some people also put a page of announcements. Hey, here's how you wear the tags. Here's how to return them and stuff like that inside that coach's packet. So if you are doing your first cross country meet, that's how I do it. There's lots of people at the time a lot more cross country meets than I do, but I use simply a gallon Ziploc bag, and I'll show you the reports I print off in a second. There's a team roster report. That's what you'll put in the bag, for every race. Now, one bag for the coach, but inside that bag is a roster with bibs for every race they're doing. I'm going to show you that, and then we're going to talk about one final thing with cross-country races that most people may not have ever used, but I want to make sure you know it's there. So let's switch back to the screen. All right, so the first thing is we do have a team open here, so let's do team roster. So here is every team, how many members they have, and this is a comment section that you actually, there's not a spot in the software to fill this out, but I had users request that I add a comment section so that after you print off the roster, if you want to make a quick note, like handwritten note, you can do that here. Obviously, this is something that you would typically do, like this is a custom note for that team only. So I just had a little comments box here that you can write whatever in. But so this is the roster for this particular team. You can print all these off. So here's the next team, here's the next team, and so on. So this is what you would use to show, hey, Henry Hudson High School or whatever. Here's your two athletes that you've registered. Here's their bib number, and here's who it belongs to. So yeah, this is the report you would print off and stick inside the Ziploc bag. And of course, you would have for this high school, 8606 through 8615, those bibs in that bag, folded up inside this roster. So that's the team roster report. The other report is the team labels. So here, now let me make this smaller so you can see it. It goes on the other screen here. The packet labels and then team labels. So this, you can select which races you want to have labels for. And then you can also decide, hey, let's imagine you've already got a piece of paper, maybe from the last time you did team labels or any kind of labels. And sometimes the labels are used up as you've peeled them off and stuck them on things. You can decide, hey, start the labels at position, whatever, and then it'll push them over. So I bumped over, give me 14 blanks before you start printing on the labels. So this will save you some time from having to write down the name of the team on the packets that you give the coaches. So you can just print off team labels. The size of the label you use is listed here. Let's go back to view reports right here. Now, one of the things we're going to look at near the end of this video is how you can customize any report in the system. So if you happen to buy the wrong size labels, or you already have labels but the different size than this, then I can show you how you can customize the report to match your labels. All right, so the other thing, cross country, then we'll move on to relay races. So let's imagine there are some cross country meets where I've heard that the timer says, hey, the meet director doesn't require the coach to declare their athletes until basically they can line up whoever whenever they want. Now, obviously, you can't run JV and varsity. I mean, you're going to run one or the other. But I've heard of meets where the coach can decide at the starting line, okay, hey, you're going to run varsity or whatever. And you as the timer, how in the world are you supposed to time that? So I'm going to show you a feature added in a year or two ago that allows you not to freak out when that happens. And so if you know that this is a race where the meet director, again, says, hey, they can declare people up until the race starts, then then you basically what I would do is I would put everybody, every possible participant, let's say for example all boys in the JV boys race first, and let's say the JV boys are going to run before the varsity boys. So you would actually have varsity and JV in here, everybody. Now, if someone knew, if you knew 100% this boy is going to be in the varsity, you can move him. You know, I don't want you in a position though where you're having to swap a whole bunch of people at the last minute. So, you know, if you're really confident that, you know, maybe these 50 athletes are going to be in the varsity, we'll go ahead and put them in the varsity. But if there's any of them that are questionable, put them all in the JV race. And here's the reason why. When the JV race goes off, you will time the race like normal, and you'll have a bunch of athletes here with no times. So you see, here's a couple, there's one. And so what will happen is these participants were not picked up during the JV race. And so what you can do is, let me make this a little smaller so you can see it. You could simply say, push undetected athletes. So if they were not picked up at the start, you know, if you were doing chip start, or if they were not picked up at any split point on the course, let's say you imported splits, which most of the time you're not going to, but let's say you did. If there's no times at all for this person, then it'll allow you to push them to whichever race you want. And so let's say I'm going to push them to the varsity boys. Okay, so now every person without a time was just now pushed to the varsity boys race. Okay, so we should see some freshmen and so on, even though my guess is the varsity JV is going to be mostly your freshmen and stuff. But so here's a whole bunch of people without any times that was in the JV race. And so that's just one thing I want to make sure you know is there. So. Okay, so let's go on to relay races. So we're actually going to use this same race. This is a race, a real race that one of my users timed. I hope he doesn't mind I'm using this as an example. But so just happened to find his database here in my computer. And so I'm going to, we're going to pretend like this is a relay race, and I'm going to just simply click on relay results. And again, it does the same thing where it asks you which teams you want to include in it. Now, this was not a relay. This was a race where all the people started at the same time. But I think this is still going to work. If it doesn't, we'll pull up a different, just create a quick race. A relay race, of course, what's different is, with cross country, or let's say you've got a 5K race that's going to have corporate teams, and everybody's going to start at the same time. With that, you're going to set it up as a cross country or a track race, or a road race with team scoring, and it'll base the results based on the total number of people, your scores, and their how did they do overall, like your top 5 versus another team's top 5. Well, obviously, if my top 5 did on average better than yours, you can base on a bunch of different criteria, then I would come out ahead. Well, relay results, we may have 3 participants each, your team and my team, and I'm going to run first, and then when I'm done, I pass the baton or stick or whatever it is to the next person. They run next. And then, the third person goes last, and maybe that third person passes off back to the first person, they go again. So this report, now this race only has one finish. So let's actually go ahead and create a quick race here. We'll just use the same one here, call it relay example. All right, and we'll just say it's a 6-lap race. Get rid of this and get rid of these walking divisions. All right, and so let's create a team. Call it team 1, and I'll call it team 2. All right, I'm moving really quick. I hope I'm setting this up right. So I'm going to have and this is simply saying, hey, I set this up as a race that allows team scoring, but I didn't set a score up, or scores to displacers. So I'm going to ignore that because we don't need it for relay. I'm going to quickly pull in some participants. So let's just do it from this file here. And I'll just do these records. Okay, so we got some participants. Let me add some to some teams. I'm going as quick as I can here to get this done. And one thing that's new is you can create teams on the fly. So if you're registering people and you need to create a new one, you can just right here. That was in the last update, I believe. All right, so I'm going to be couple in team 2. Okay, so I think I got a couple in team 2, a couple team 1. Problem is I need to know who. So 1, 2, 3. Let's just go here. 4, 5, 6. All right. So here we're going to create this. Let me actually make sure that the gap time isn't too high, so we can just do a gap time of 1 second. Okay, relay. Here we go. So here comes this guy, and here comes number 4 right behind him, and then a couple seconds later, number 2. This is obviously a very short loop, and let's actually say number 5 passed. Well, okay, let's say I pass off so I've already finished. Number 1 is already finished. Number 2 is on the course, and number 5 is on the course. Let's say number 5 just finished, and number 2 came right behind him, so 5 was quicker, made up a lot of ground. And then let's say number 3 just finished, so he finished ahead of number 6. We're going back and forth in this relay. And then, so now 6 is passed back off to number 1. Here comes number 1, and here comes number 4. Here comes number 5 again, was faster, and then 2, and this time 6 was faster than 3, and so on. So as we keep adding times, we can at any point go to the action keys tab and print relay results, but let me pull up in the screen. And what's happening is it will list all the laps that were completed. So team 2, here's all the people. And we can call these split descriptions whatever you want, but this is the time it took them to run each one of their legs. And so probably a quick and bad example, there's better examples I could have done, but again, I want to throw something together real quick. But this will give you an idea, and this will allow you to add as many laps as you want, and team members can run as many, and it doesn't matter if they run in order or not. This will base it all, like I could have had team number 2, their first guy run 2 laps in a row. It would have been just fine. So yeah, just so you know, this will let you go as many columns, as many laps as they complete. It will just keep adding columns. And the report will dynamically switch between portrait and landscape based on the number of laps that they do. So anyways, that's how you do relay results. You set it up exactly the same as you would a road race with team scoring or anything else. And you simply add athletes to the team. And then when you're doing relay results, you want to have that as a separate race in the software, because all these other results are meaningless when it comes to relay results. Because if I pull up the overall results, I don't know what it's going to do. But the whole point is it's going to simply, if you do relay race, the relay results is the only one you want to use. And how you set it up, you don't have to declare this person's going to run lap number 1, this person's going to run lap number 2. You simply add the people to the team and you let them run. So that's how you do relay results. I've probably butchered that, but I hope the point is it's easy to set up. It's easy to do. You just add the athletes, add them to teams, and let them run. And again, the other reports are meaningless. Just do the relay results report on a relay race. Okay, so stair climb race. We're going to assume that you have one laptop that's at the top of the stairs and one laptop capturing start times at the bottom of the stairs. I've got a race on YouTube where you can see me doing this. And so that was the thing we had to juggle was, okay, wait a minute, we're capturing chip start times down here at the bottom, and then like 60 flights of stairs up or whatever it was, we're doing the finishing time. And of course, the race director wanted it to where, when people arrive at the finish line, they see their time, not their gun time, but their total completion time. And so we were having to, and now of course we're so far away that there is no, router connecting our 2 laptops. So we had to work only through the internet. And so I was going to show you quickly how we set that up. And how you time a stair climb race. So Okay, tracking splits. Okay, so let's go through two scenarios. Let's say that you don't have enough readers to capture the chip start with a reader. You know, let's say you got to do it manually. So let's just call this stair climb example, and it's going to be 1 lap. And really, let's imagine this is the starting line computer, so it doesn't matter how many laps you set it up here. But let's save this. Let it be a road race. I'm going to set this back to 0. Okay, for a stair climb race, we're going to imagine this is the starting line computer that we're on right now. Okay, the first thing we want to do is check to see where the database is backing up to. So right now I've got the database backing up to this location here, and I can set it to be wherever. But what's going to happen is while you're capturing chip starts, every 15 seconds, you see right here on where my mouse is at, it will auto-save all the chip start times it's captured out to the database. Well, the software also has the ability to where every 1 second or 2 seconds, it creates a backup of the database, a copy of it, and it's a real small file, and it throws it out to the backup path. And that backup path is listed right here. So what we're going to do is, now if you happen to have a setup to where both computers can be on the same network, and this is a shared folder, well, great. The guy on the finish line can simply use the feature that says import chip start times right here at the bottom. Yeah, let's say it takes someone 15 minutes or 20 minutes to get from the bottom to the top. Well, maybe every 10 minutes then he goes over to this shared folder and simply says import chip start, the chip start time. So he navigates to wherever it's at. Usually it would be like a map drive. Like I've got a map drive here, I'm sure. Let's say it's this one. Now, of course, this is not available. This computer's not here. But he would click on it, click on the file, hit import, and he's done. That's all he's gonna do. It's like 1, 2, 3, boom. Like it should be less than 10 seconds. He's got all the times pulled in. And so he can continuously be pulling in chip start times, maybe every 10 minutes. And the chip start computer, as you see here, it's an automatic process. Every 15 seconds, it's saving all. And I think now that's as low as it goes, is 15 seconds. But you can bump it higher if you wanted to. But every 15 seconds, it saves any chip start times it's captured out to the database. And also, every couple seconds, the software is creating a backup of the database and throwing it out to the shared or the backup path. And so scenario number 1 is that you've got a shared folder that both computers have access to on a LAN network. That's highly unlikely. The more likely scenario is that you're going to need to email this database to your finisher or your timer at the finish line. He downloads it from his email, and then he simply does the import chip start times. That's what we did. We had both computers connected online, either through a hotspot or luckily the building had a free Wi-Fi. Now, of course, don't depend on that if you've got hundreds or thousands of people there. They may hammer the Wi-Fi if it's an open network. So you may have to use your phone's hotspot. Just try to make sure you've always got 2 or 3 different methods to get online. And the file is really small, by the way, usually like a 1 megabyte. If you've timed for a long time, you may be like at 4 or 5 megabytes. So it's a really small file. So it doesn't take long to attach and send it by email. You can also do Dropbox and different things. But your process, if you're going to do the email route, is, let me close this out. So I would pull up my email. Looks like someone just emailed me. So I would pull it over here like to the side. Where'd it go? So I'd pull over here to the side, make it real small, and then I'd have my timing screen here, taking up the majority of the window. And in fact, I think the way I did it is I had this screen even smaller, and then I had my backup path like this. All right, so let's imagine this is, let me go to what I know is the shared folder. So C, users, public, documents. So here's my shared folders. What you'll find is, let's go ahead and do a chip start. So I'm going to do time race. So capture chip start listening. Okay, my reader's connected. So the first participant. Now, by the way, you can do this an hour before the race or however long you want. You can go and start the clock. It doesn't matter because the software is going to simply, store the date timestamp of the last time someone left. So what's going to happen? Let me get some tags here. Let me present all these. I don't know. Hopefully these belong to so many people. And what you should see is this date timestamp over here will start getting updated. So right now it's okay. So I think it was at 7:30 something earlier. Now it's 7:46. Let me scan some more tags. All right, so I just scanned some more, and you should see it update here again in a second. Now, also, you'll see all these chip start times over here being populated as it's going through and doing its auto saving of the chip starts. So this is about to get resaved. Now, it looks like it's already been updated again, 7:47. And so what'll happen is every now and then, let's say every 5 minutes or so, I can come over here, hit compose, type in my head timer's email address, and simply drag and drop the file, and then hit send. And so now he knows his inbox has now got what's nice with doing it by email is you have every database file sent. He can go, it's date, time, stamp, and everything. So he can say, oh, here's the first file, here's the second file. And by the way, even if he skips a file, it's fine because you don't lose those times. As more athletes go, you're simply, he's only really got to pull in the newest file he gets. But if he wants to have it updated every few minutes, he can download every file I send them and import them as they come in. So really, it's up to him to simply, whenever he gets around to it, just to download whatever the newest file is. It's got all the times, and there's no problem with re-importing the same file 20 times. It doesn't. The software is only going to keep. It's not going to erase a time. It's going to keep whatever is the newest time it has. So this is my process. I'll send it to him. Now I'm not going to because he won't know what's coming. I'll send it to myself, I guess. All right. And I didn't put a subject or a body in. I'm going to hit OK because that doesn't matter to me. And so now you see this email is right there waiting on me. So he'll simply download it. So there it comes. He'll come over here to the RFID readers tab, click on import chip start times. There's the downloads, and there it is. So now those times are pulled in. So obviously this is the same as what we had, but you get the idea. So every few minutes, you just simply drag and drop into a new email to whoever, and your timing screen, you don't have to touch anything timer related. And so with this setup, I didn't care when people started. I didn't care if they wanted to start 3 at one time. Doesn't matter. I had my antenna sitting there, and when people went to the entrance of the stairway, they got picked up automatically, and everything was just automatic. All I had to do was simply compose an email, drag and drop it, and send it to him, and then he simply pulls it down. So his process again was going to, he had his email open like this. He would download it, click this link, and pull it in. And that's all he did. So besides that, he was timing the rest like normal. So pretty nice. Okay, so let me see. Okay, I wanted to talk about if you did not have a reader at the starting line. So let's say you only have enough equipment to do the finishing time, but you still wanted to bid for this race because let's say you're the only time in the area and they really want to have a stair climb race. You can, let me set this back to 0 here. You can do the same option even though you don't have the reader of capture chip start. And I don't know that you have to actually click on start listening. I'm going to try it without it and see what happens. So I'm going to start the clock. And let's say that now, as people walk up and before they start, they're going to show me their bib. And what's going to happen is I'm going to say, okay, hey, what bib number are you? And they say, oh, I'm bib number 24. All right. What I'm going to do is I can say, all right, on your mark, get set, go. And when I hit enter, it actually stores a chip start time for them. Because I've told the software I'm capturing chip start times, okay? So if you don't have a reader at the starting line, it's perfectly fine. You would just have to manually type in the number and then tell them when to go. And so you'd be like, hey, what's your bib number? Oh, it's 12, okay? On your mark, get set, go, right? As they take off, press the enter key. And of course, this whole other process I showed you is still going on. See, this file just got updated again, 7:51. So if you don't have a reader at the starting line, you can still do it. And you could really, if you had, let's say, 18 and 19 starting together, you could 18, 19, and then let's say you wanted to get the times exact, you can double click and alter it here. But just so you know, it is possible to do a chip start without a reader if it is like a stair climb, or maybe it's some kind of relay or something where it's going to be one or a couple people starting at one time. So okay, so that's stair climb races. We talked about transferring the file across, all that stuff. Okay, I want to go back to the webcam view here. Where's my mouse? I wanted to talk about setting up your camera. Where is it at? Okay, so some people ask me, how do I, what settings do I set on the camera and all that stuff? You can definitely get all kinds of fancy with this and do sports mode and exact, levels of different things. But what I find is I can get it perfect in my house, and then I go outside, and based on the weather conditions, the pictures may be crap. And so I don't play with this stuff anymore. I'm not a camera pro. So what I do is I simply leave mine on the P, which is I think portrait. It may be hard to see there. That's where the line is at on that side. So I leave mine on P. And then I'll leave all the settings here on fully automatic. So autofocus, and sure, leave the stabilization on. In fact, it's off. Yeah, so autofocus on, basically full auto and everything. You can do the green, but for some reason I like the P. I don't know why. It seems to be a little better quality photo, maybe. I don't know. But oh no, here's what it is. I remember now. So the green, if you put it on that, and it's too dark, the flash, wherever that button's at, will pop up. So that's the problem, is that when the flash pops up, I can't think of it. That button's here somewhere. Oh, I don't have the camera on. So when it's too dark, the flash pops up. And when the flash pops up, it actually takes longer to take the picture if it's actually flashing. So right now it's bright enough, it's not going to. And so that's why I like P over the green, because I don't want, if the cloud comes over and it does get real dark for a second, I don't want the flash popping up, because I notice at that point it can't take as many photos per second. I think it does at most like 3 per second or whatever. And so I don't want to have any delays. So that's the setting I use. I talked about before, I think last week, the one setting you want to switch it to, you click the menu button, and then there's a setting in here that says auto power off. And it may be hard to see because of brightness. By default, that's set for like 30 seconds. You want to turn that to off. That's the settings on the camera. When it comes to the software, I want to show you a couple things when the camera is attached. So on the clock screen here, if you go to action keys, you'll see that this is disabled, because I actually do have a camera hooked up to my laptop right now, but I got it turned off. And the moment it becomes available, you'll see that this link appears, and it's actually functionable. If you listen here. Oh, I may not have been recording it. Basically, if that link is visible, that tells you the software does have a successful connection to the camera. And so, of course, if I unplug, let me find the cord. Yeah, if I unplug this camera, see, it went off. If I plug it back in, it comes back on. So that's, if you didn't know, this is the link to look at, just to get a confirmation that my camera is good to go. All right, so let me see if there's anything else about the camera. Okay, nope. All right, next thing we're going to talk about before we start digging into the advanced features, the actual screens, is how to set up your split points. So if you're going to time a marathon, for example, and you're going to set up like a quarter marathon split and a half marathon split and a 3/4 marathon split, I'm going to show you how to set that up. So if you're going to capture chip starts, or if you're doing split times with a separate computer, then the most important thing you want to do is get your Windows times to be identical on all the computers you're going to use. Because when you import chip start times, or if you import split times, what you're actually pulling in is you're pulling in a bib number, and then the next value you're pulling in is the date time stamp of when that read occurred. And so maybe it's like bib number 12 with a time of 4/16/2020 and 07:51 12 seconds. And of course, it's got the fraction of a second there too. So what you're actually pulling in is according to the computer, when these date timestamps with the bib numbers occurred. And so if you've got your chip start computer or your split computer out on the course and it's 5 minutes off, then the date timestamps you're going to pull in are 5 minutes off. You want to have all your computers that you're going to use to capture chip start times or split times to where their Windows clocks are identical. Now, probably the easiest way to do this is to go to like Control Panel, go to Date and Time, go to Internet Time, change settings, and do Update Now. If you do this on all of them and they're all using the same time server, then all of them should be in sync. Now, typically, I do this. I check it the night before the race. I've never had a case where magically the next day it's minutes off or even seconds off. Usually, if you do it, like say a day before the race, you're going to be fine. So that's how I do it. If you want to have let's talk about live splits like online. I want to show you quickly how to set that up. So with error live results, unless you're using like a race day scoring, and we're going to talk about how to do the custom live file export in a little bit. But let's imagine first you're using error live results. The first thing you do is you create the race with the number of laps total that error live results is going to track, not how many laps this computer is going to track. How many laps total is Aero going to show? And so let's say it's a marathon, like I said, where you've got quarter split, half split, three-quarter, and a finish, where you're going to set the race up in the beginning as a 4-lap race. And I'm actually going to name each split, quarter split, half split, and then, of course, you can set the distance and all that stuff. 3/4 split, finish. All right, so I've got them named like I want and everything like I'd like. Of course, you can set the distance and all that stuff correctly here too. But once you get it all to where, okay, hey, this is what I want Aero to show, then you could do your submission. And I'm actually going to hit cancel on this because I don't want to push it up there yet. But I can push this to Aero Live Results, and now Aero Live Results knows, hey, the first time I get, I'm going to list that as quarter split. The next time I get, it's going to be half split, and so on. And so now, once you have the race pushed up to Aero Live Results like you want, then you'll switch this back to the number of laps this particular computer is going to track. And so let's say this computer is your quarter marathon split computer. And so you'll set it up to say, well, I'm only going to want that computer to track one split. So, of course, you'll set that up as lap 1 or 1 lap. And you'll do the same for the other split computers. On your finish line, it's going to be the same thing, where they're all tracking one split. Or if you happen to have one station that's going to track 2 splits, you can do this too. And of course, the first time it pushes that time up to Aero to be whichever of the first splits you're going to track. And so, yeah, just be aware that this is how that works. And the split descriptions don't really matter on the computer. You just had to have them right whenever you push it up to Aero. So just be aware that this is how you do it. Now, whenever you time the races, and let's say obviously you're going to have those computers online at the split stations, as those people come across, automatically they're on Aero Live Results, and people can watch anywhere in the world as people progress through the race. And so that's how you set that up. And we'll actually push a race to Aero here in a second, but I just want to talk about setting up the splits so that they're available in real time as people go by. Okay, and what's one thing nice, by the way, remember the example I gave about how the bib number and date timestamp? One thing that's nice about how the system works is that you can actually start, and it's the same way with Aero, by the way. So let's say this is my quarter marathon split computer here, right? So it's going to be out on the course. I can start the clock and turn the readers on, like let's say at 3 in the morning if I wanted to, even though the race starts at 8 or 9. And I can set these out with the readers on and ready to go and just forget about them. The date time splits, whenever I actually pull in these splits, let's say into my finish line computer, so I can maybe have one results file that's got every split and all the finishing times, everything. It pulls in the date time stamps of when those splits occurred. It doesn't care what the clock time shows. So the clock time could be when the person ran by, could show 13 hours, even though really it was an hour into the race. Well, when I pull these split times in, before, if I look at the actual computer, it may say 13:11, but when I actually pull them into the finish line computer, it'll have, let's say an hour and 8 minutes and 23 seconds, or whenever it actually occurred relative to the date timestamp on the finish line. I hope y'all follow that. The point I'm trying to make is you can set up your split stations and get the readers going, the clocks turned on and everything, and forget about them. You don't have to worry about trying to start those stations when the race starts. Just turn them on, set them out there, and let them do their thing. All right, so now let's get into the screens where, the results kiosk and the lap manager and all the things you can do on the clock screen here that are a little bit more advanced. So I wanted to kind of touch base, but I guess before, let me look at the questions real fast. That way I didn't leave anybody behind. If you enter all runners in the JV race, will the non-detected runners show up in the race report? No, okay, so Kurt asked that feature where I showed about the push undetected. He's asking, will those runners show up on the results for the other race? No, if they don't have any times, they're not going to be on the results. So yeah, those JV runners on the varsity results, if they simply registered but they never ran in any race, then they're just not going to be on any results. The only report they would show up on, which of course is you're not going to do this after the race, is if you printed off another race roster for some reason or team roster. So that's no, you're not going to have any problems there. Now, technically, I guess you could explain that if you would have to provide a team roster before the race to know which bib numbers go with the athletes. But if the coach is not required to declare varsity or JV until right before the race starts, he's going to be understanding that, hey, all my runners are on the varsity race, right? Even though some are going to be varsity. They're all listed on the JV race, even though some are going to be varsity. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the coach will be able to figure that out. So, okay, yeah, here's why they're all listed in this race. But that's simply just for bib number assignment. Is why I've got this report that shows everybody in the JV race. So that's no problem. All right, so Upstate Ultra, probably no way to add age, gender handicaps for relay races or individual races. I have a few events that are age, gender graded. Oh, so you're saying on the relay to automatically add some time based on age or gender or whatever. No, right now there's not a setting to do that. If I can get some clear instructions that are that apply to every race, to where I can add settings that's like, okay, this should work for everybody, and it's not going to make the program just excessively complicated. Then yeah, I'd like to know more. But so far, there hadn't been a request for that. So until this, of course. So all right. So basically, this feature allows each person to have their own bib number. Yeah. So that's the point I was trying to make. In the past, so Upstate Ultra asked, hey, so basically what this relay results report does, and is in the past, if you wanted to time a relay race before I added this report in, you would actually have to create one athlete called team runs a lot. Let's say that's a team name. So you would actually create a team where maybe the first name is team and the last name is runs a lot, and that would be one participant, but would cover all relay members. And the only person to have the tag would be the very last person, the finisher. Right? So, or you could have it to where they were running not just the finisher only, but maybe they were carrying a baton to where every time they came through, it tracks a new split, but there was no way to know. There was no individual participants. It was just simply a team with a bunch of splits. And so it would then be up to the team members to know, okay, I ran led 3, there's my time, right? And so it was obviously a workaround. But now, like he's pointing out, now you can add in every team member and time to a team, and then this team results report will break it out by team and show every member and what they ran. And again, it doesn't matter who runs when. So that's the beauty of it with you as a timer. You don't care when people run. You just assign them to teams, and it takes care of all of it for you. If one person ran back-to-back legs and then finally passed the baton on to someone else, the report will show all that. It does a good job of breaking everything up. So he also asked, so basically this feature, okay, yeah, so you already got that. So I think that's all the questions for now. So we'll move into the next thing, which is the screens that maybe you're not familiar with using or not sure how to set up. A lot of people ask me about how to set up the network stuff on the results kiosk, and we're digging into that. So we're going to dig into one that probably nobody uses first, just because it'll be quick, get it over with. It's the lap manager. And so let's say that we've got a race, and let's call this like the indoor 5K, indoor track 5K. And it's going to be typically an indoor 5K, 200 meter track. It's going to be 25 laps. I know, because that was miserable. And so obviously it's going to be 5,000 meters. All right. Make sure everything else is good. Teams we don't really care about. So with the way the software is set up, it's going to allow you up to 30 participants before you can't use the lap manager anymore. Because the reason why is because then things become so small that you can't really see the bib numbers and the number of laps remaining. This screen is designed so that you can put it on a big screen TV, and the runners, as they come around, can see their own times, can see how many laps they have remaining. Now, of course, you're still going to have an official there doing all this stuff, but it's designed to help the officials, or to make it to where you don't have to have as many officials tracking all the splits. So let's make this like, let's say 15 participants. And I'm going to reset this race back to 0. All right, so the way the lap manager works is I'm going to go to TV, and when you have less than 30 participants, you have this link here that says Show Lap Manager. Okay. And so you can drag this onto another screen and dock it full screen. That way you can see the screen, the timing screen, and they can see this one. But let's just go ahead and look at this screen here. So what happens is, now I can make this clock bigger or smaller. Let's, in fact, let me drag this over to my other screen, and I'll make this bigger here. So I'm going to make the clock a little bit bigger. So let's do something like this. And I'm going to go ahead and start the race. So on your mark, get set, go. So here they go. And let's imagine here comes, well, let's just go and bump the clock up a little bit here. Okay, so here comes, in fact, I got some tags. Let's go ahead and scan some tags. Let me turn the readers on. Okay, so we've got the reader connected. We grab some tags here. And watch what happens. Okay, so I have a 1 second gap, so it allowed bib number 13 to finish 2 laps. But you'll see here that as they come around, it'll automatically deduct laps for every person. Now, let me find some more bibs. So that right there is bib number 6. Okay, there's bib number 5. I don't have my tags labeled here, so I'm just grabbing random ones. So there's bib number 9 in there. Let me go ahead and, now another option you can do is you can do a -1 all. So let's let me set this back to 0. All right, so let's imagine that with the way most track meets are, no matter, even if you've got people that are brand new to running and you've got some world-class athletes in there, what happens is young kids, they always take off too fast, right? So typically when the race takes off, your very first lap, everyone's going to be crossing in a tight ball. And so you may decide to only use the RFID equipment when people start to spread out. You don't have to. If you ever see that someone wasn't picked up, you can just simply click on the number, either side here. But let's imagine that you decide, hey, I'm going to wait to a lap or 2 into this thing before I turn the readers on. Then you can simply do -1 all. And you see here, it takes the lap off everybody. Now, on the clock screen, what you'll see is, let me make this smaller. On the clock screen, at that moment, all these times appeared. Okay, so let's go back over to the lap manager. All right, let's imagine that, okay, here they come back around again, another lap completed. Let's say it's, let's basically, until one person laps another person, I'm going to maybe do this -1 all, okay? And this is only if you're using this simply to show laps remaining. Now, if you wanted to get accurate times for everybody, on splits, you would probably use the reader the entire time. But if your only concern is just to know who's got, because as a college runner, I know that at least half the time I'd run a 5K that they'll miscount my laps. I mean, it's just, Now, if I was like that goes to show you I was rarely the winner. But if I'm middle of the pack or even sometimes back of the pack, it's highly likely because with the division I was in, the Sun Belt Conference, it's Division One, but there was a lot of Kenyans and different things in it. So you got them passing people 2 or 3 times on an indoor track, and so it's very likely that people are going to get the laps miscounted, and so. Anyways, if you're only using this for counting laps only, then you would use probably the -1 all until people start to get lapped. And at that moment, you can use the readers, or if you're going to do it manually, you can have someone calling out numbers as they come by, like, okay, 9, 12, 6. Maybe my gap time's higher than I thought. So I have to check and see. But anyways, you can simply click on it or do the numbers here. So yeah, there's bib number 1, number 9. I have to check and see. I could have swore. Okay, yeah, you can click on it. So here comes number 4. Here comes number 7, number 11, 14, 15. So you can click here. Now, by the way, what's going on the clock screen is as I click, it's adding the times in here. Okay, or as I manually enter in their bib number at the top. So I can either enter times in here, or the RFID system can capture them, and it automatically deducts the laps here. Or I can do the timing here, and it automatically puts the times in on the clock screen. And so, if you make a mistake, you can +1 all here, or you can -1 all here. You can also right-click and do add lap if it's an individual. You need to add one to this person back. You can mark someone did not finish or did not start. But this screen is designed so that the runners, you can tell them, hey, look at your number, know where it's at, and when you come around, this is where you look to see how many laps you got. Now, obviously, 15 is still quite a few in a race. But this is how the screen is designed to work. And as you see, as I make the screen smaller or bigger, the numbers get smaller or bigger. So if you have a bigger screen TV, it's just easier to see. All right, so that's the lap manager. I'm sure there's other things we can do on it, but that's what I want to show you. What is this? Edit. Okay, so that simply hides or shows that bar at the top. If you're going to use just the RFID equipment, then you can do that. Okay, lap manager. Next thing, I want to show you the features on the clock screen that a lot of people may not know are there. So let's imagine that you've got a race, and let's go back to our 10K. So let's say you're timing this 10K, and you find out that bib number 18 and bib number 19 are family members that wore the wrong bibs. Okay, so, and it doesn't matter, by the way, if this person finished first and this person finished last. Let's just add some more times in. All right, let's see. So let's imagine actually 10 and 18 wore, let's say they're family members and they wore the wrong bib. So really, Tanya finished first, and this guy finished last. Then you can simply highlight both. Use the control button on your keyboard, highlight both of them. And when you do that, now when you right click, you've got this option that says swap bib numbers. Okay, so now that'll simply swap them. So you're not having to worry about, oh shoot, let me double click, change his time or change this, and then double click and hope I remember what it was. You don't have to remember all that stuff. Just simply right click on both of them, and you can say swap bib numbers. Okay, so that's a feature a lot of people don't know is there. Another thing people don't know you can do is, let's imagine that you've got, because let's say you're going to use, okay, here's a better example. So let's say you're timing the race, and, oh shoot, reset back to 0. Okay, let's say that you're timing the race, and it's a cross-country race. And let's imagine that you've handed out your packets to the coaches, and sure enough, a coach trying to be a good guy walks back over and says, hey, here's all the bibs that for the runners that didn't show up. And let's imagine you've got your reader turned on. Well, as he walks up, guess what happened? All these times appear, right? And you're like, oh crap, I've got a bunch of finishing times for people who don't exist. I've got them in my system because the coach didn't know if they're going to show or not. Well, now I've got a bunch of times for people that, and this can happen mid-race or whatever, but let's just say it happens early. If you've got a whole bunch of reads that you want to get rid of, You don't have to right click on everyone or whatever. Just use your shift key or the control key, highlight all of them, and then you can delete them and get rid of all at one time, okay? So obviously if I wanted to get rid of just the middle ones, then I can do that. So I just want you to be aware that that's available, because I don't want you to be in a spot where 50 tags are picked up all at once and you're sitting there trying to do one at a time. It would just take forever. So, all right. Another scenario. Let's imagine that now the software has the ability to auto detect if a reader is no longer working or went offline. So in fact, I'm going to unplug my reader right now. So I just now unplugged it. And so you'll see that in a few seconds here, my Thinkific reader, and I don't know why it's got two there. It looks like one was manually added, but it's not enabled. So you see there, the reader automatically went to not connected. And what also happened is this activity indicator turned red on the number. So if you ever look and see, wait a minute, this number turned red, now there's a difference in the actual man turning red and the number turning red. I'll explain that in a second. But if the number of readers, that number, by the way, represents how many readers are online and active and reading. If that drops down, let's say you had 2 readers connected and you're actually using 2 connected to one computer, which you can do that in the software. You have to use a router or a switch between them. But let's say you had 2 readers, because often I'll use a Motorola reader connected via Ethernet, and I'll maybe have a Thinkific reader connected via USB to one computer. So I have 2 readers connected, and if I ever see that number turn red and go down to 1, then I can look over on my list and say, oh, wait a minute, my Thinkific just went down, because it'll say not connected, right? And so just be aware that that red, that's what that means. But let's say that you find out, oh, yeah, I see that my cable was loose. Let me plug it back in. Well, if you plug your reader back in, how do you get it to be reconnected and reading again? So I just now plugged it back in. What you can do is you can right-click and do reload list. Okay, so that'll try to reload all the readers and try to reconnect them. So just be aware. I want you to know that's available. If you ever find that you didn't add the right host name or need to change something, you can hit the F8 key, which is under your actions here. F8 is your settings. You can make whatever changes you need to the reader. So we'll let this try to find the... So yeah, it looks like there is a disabled Thinkific there. So I can make a change to the reader. Let's call this test change, save, and then save. And now I can go back over to my readers and do right click and do reload. So you'll see that that extra Thinkific I had in there went away. And I changed the name of the reader. Of course, I could have changed the host name or something else to test change. So just be aware that you can right click and do reload list. That way you're not having, because what if you're mid-race and you need to reset the readers or whatever? You don't want to close out the whole clock screen. You just simply want to change something about the readers. So just be aware that that's there. A lot of people don't know that. And by the way, this little status monitor, this is what I was talking about, where the software, let's say I had a Motorola reader hooked up. What will happen is, if the reader has not detected a tag in more than 10 seconds, I reach out to the reader and say, hey, buddy, are you still here? And after I send that message out, if I don't get a response back or if I get some kind of failure, then I'll let you know, hey, a reader just went offline. So just be aware that as long as your reader is reading tags and doing all that stuff, the status monitor isn't trying to reach out to the reader. But you can turn that feature off if you ever wanted to. By default, it's on. Now, if you turn it off, it'll stay off next time you pull up the clock screen, so it remembers your setting. Okay, so I wanted to show another thing here. This is a feature I use quite a bit. If it's right before the race and I want to make an announcement, or I've got my TV set up and they're not doing anything before the race, so I'll just say, so I'll just pull up where my TVs simply have something functional. So just be aware that this is where you can do that. Any text you put in here will show up on the TV, and you can make it size however you want. There's also been races where the race director was having trouble getting people to turn like left or right, and I had an extra laptop and an extra computer, so I set up a TV saying turn right. Where the runners, as they're coming towards that TV, they see, oh, turn right or turn left or whatever. So you can use this as a way for posting, signs on the course or whatever. So, yeah, just be aware that that's how you do that. Yeah, I've used it to say like parking in rear building or whatever. So that's you can change this look any way you want. So I can say, well, I want the clock instead of black to be, maybe it's a Halloween race. I want it to be orange, and maybe I want the background to be black instead of white. You could do whatever you want. And maybe when split times are captured or finishing times, they instead of being green, I want them to be another color. So you can do whatever you want on this display. And of course, again, I don't know, say, I could put this up in my neighborhood if I want, as people come to get candy or whatever. And by the way, when that screen is up, if you want to put it back, let's say Halloween's over and you want to go back to your regular look, just click on reset and it'll put everything back the way it was. So, all right. My next note here is to show you how to do something we just did, which is to open up. A lot of people don't know that from the clock screen, you can open up the settings screen. And the most likely case where I use this is whenever I realize, oh, the printer I have my software or this computer hooked up to isn't the one I brought today. So maybe you change from one printer to the other. And because if you're in the middle of timing a race, and let's say it's near the end, but you still got people coming in, and you realize, oh crap, when I click on my quick print options, it's not going to the printer. Then that's when you realize, oh, I've got my printer set wrong. Well, you don't want to close the clock screen out to go set that. To do that, you simply click on F8 or click this link, and then you go to your printer settings, put your company name in, or select your printer, whatever you want to do, and hit save. Okay, so that's how you pull up the settings screen from the clock screen. I've already shown before how to publish results. So most people that use my software probably use Run Sign Up. The interface and the API calls. There's, like I said, Race Entry is awesome. Race Roster is great. There's good companies, good guys. But the API functionality with Run Sign Up is far beyond what anybody else offers. And so some of the things I want to talk about. You've already seen me publish results to Run Sign Up with the last video, but I want to explain what some of these options do. And so if you hit clear, in fact, this race, this is one we have on Run Sign Up. So the Arch live stream 10K. So I bet you we still have the results posted from last week. Let's actually pull that up and I'll show you. So I can show you what these buttons do. Yeah, so here's the results we did from last week. Okay. And we did the video and everything. So Run Sign Up has a feature called like the leaderboard or whatever. It's a different thing on their website. And I wanted to explain what this does in case you use their leaderboard feature. So let's imagine that you're timing the race, and maybe every now and then you hit the publish button, maybe every minute or two, to push the results up to Run Sign Up. And let's imagine you make a change to something like, oh, this person, I fixed their time or whatever, and you wanted to clear the results. Well, if you hit clear, or let's say that you realize there's a problem and you want to take them down from online just so that you can fix whatever's a problem and then push them back up. Well, the clear will actually leave the results set that you've already pushed up, so that way they're a live leaderboard. People can still go to that same website that you sent them. Then you want to use the clear option if you're using like a live leaderboard. That will leave the result set there, and then when you republish, we'll use that same result set. That way, if again, that leaderboard feature will then be working. If you're not using the leaderboard function, then you can simply hit delete, and that'll delete all result sets. And where this comes in handy is, let's say that we're going to do age division results, because right now, if you look at Run Sign Up, I think I only did the overall results. Let me pull up their website. So if you go here, yeah, I did just overall results. You see this? So that's the only result set it created, one for every race. But if I go, let me add some real times in here. So let's say I go to, I click all these options because I'm not sure what I'm doing. I'm just going to click them all. I'm going to hit publish results. So now it's publishing overall, division, athlete types, everything. Okay. So now it posted it all. So now if I go back to Run Sign Up, you'll see, you'll be like, holy crap, what is all this stuff? And maybe that's not what you wanted. Well, if you hit clear, it'll leave all these result sets, but simply clear the results out. Okay. And so this delete option allows you to delete. In fact, let's do that so you see it. So now you see it's going through every division, deleting all the result sets. And so now if we go to reload, so all the result sets, if I go to, and I don't know what was there before, if I click on one of the divisions, it should be empty results. I think, I'm not sure why these are still here in some of these. But so if I hit delete though, let's go and do that. It'll delete all the result sets. Yeah, see, they're all gone. So, and I think what's going on is these are all the 5K, and I've only got the 10K pulled up in the class screen, so that's why it's the clear earlier did work. It just didn't. I have that 5K selected here. So I wanted to point that out, just explain what these buttons do. The bottom fill, of course, that's the same thing as the division results of my software. Bottom fill means that, let's say that you are slow enough where you didn't win overall, you didn't win any division results, and so, but you want to be listed on the division results report. And so bottom fill means, hey, don't list only the winners. Go ahead and list everybody and put them in, the lowest division they qualify for if they didn't win an award. And so, you may have male 40 to 45 and have 30 potential athletes in it. And of course, some of those may have won overall, and some are going to be listed. The top 3, for example, are listed as winners. That you want to have it to where everybody is listed in their division. And so let's just pull up a race here so you see the 5K still got times. Well, no, it doesn't. I cleared them from run sign up. I didn't claim here, but yeah, it would simply list everybody. So your division results, if you do bottom fill, will actually have like 30 something people in it, because it pushes everybody into whatever division they qualify for. So the same way is available on run sign up, where if you do the bottom fill and push to them, then that means you're pushing not just the winners but everybody. So that's what this is when you do bottom fill. Okay, so next, award status. So this is a feature I love. What happens is as you time the race, you can click over here, because a common question you get from race directors is, hey, do I have enough finishers to claim all my awards? Because they want to hurry and start calling awards out, because obviously the first place guy is going to finish and be standing around, and not just the first place, but the early finishers, the top 10%, are going to be finished with the race and be kind of just drinking water and hanging out. And sure enough, they get, the race director feels pressure to go ahead and call the results out as soon as possible. But at the same time, you don't want to call results out if there's still some people that can win an award. And so this tab, award status, will let you quickly glance over and see if every division is green. That tells you you've got finishers to claim, enough finishers to claim all the awards. Now, the software is smart enough where if you marked people as did not start, or you disqualified them, or if the division only had one potential person, even though maybe they're giving 3 awards, but only one person that was male 15 and 19 showed up, then it would highlight that green the moment that one finisher finished. Okay, so the software is smart enough to figure all that out. So the point is, you click here, and this will automatically show you, do I have enough finishers to claim all my awards? And so now you can tell the race director, hey, yeah, we're good to go. Here's your results, and you can finish timing without being bothered about having to print results for the awards purpose. So that's what this screen does. While we're on the screen, I will show you the scan DNS tags. Let's go ahead and let me get rid of these other races. Get rid of that one and get rid of this one from the clock screen. So now I've got just the 10K pulled in. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, the 5K now. And so this scan DNS tags. So if you are doing dynamic bib assignment, then you don't have to worry about using this if you're only pulling people in that checked in and actually received a bib member on race day. But a lot of most timers probably aren't. Most people are probably doing it the traditional way, where you pull in every online registrant into the software, and then you print off a roster, and then when people show up, you look at the roster and figure out what bib member they get. Well, the problem with that, of course, is you have no idea how many is actually on the course, unless you're using Race Joy or something like that. But even with that, I'm sure that there's not a 100% participation rate on participants using Race Joy. But a common question you get from race directors is, hey, how many people are left on the course? So one of the things you can do to help narrow that down and know who actually might be on the course is to use this feature called scan DNS tags. And so what you can do is, let's say you brought 100 bibs to the race, and let's say only 65 people showed up. So you've got 25, 35 bibs that are at the registration table that were never picked up. Well, what you can do is you can start the race, turn your readers on after everyone leaves, and then you can walk over to your registration area, and before you do that, you click on this button that says Scan DNS Tags. And while this dialog box is up, now you can walk through the finish line, and you see I'm scanning tags now because a little green activity indicator is flashing. Let me find those tags aren't assigned to anybody in this race. Let me find some. Okay, now at the bottom right, you'll see the DNS athlete count. This shows you how many tags I've scanned, how many people it's going to mark did not start. Okay, so I'm going to scan a bunch more. All right, so you'll see I've got about 24 bibs that I've scanned that it's going to mark those people as did not start. So after I've walked through the finish line with those bibs, and usually I kind of shake the tags in front of the antenna, once or twice, and just to make sure they're all picked up, and then I'll hit OK. And what happens is now it automatically marks all those athletes that did not show up as did not start. And what's nice about that is in the top part of your screen here, it says, hey, there's 279 athletes. There's 0 finishers. There's 24 DNF. So my best guess is that there's 55 on the course. Okay. Now, obviously, as people finish, let's say 140, then of course that number goes down to 54 and so on. So throughout the race, if you scan the DNS tags, you can give the race director a good clue on who's actually left on the course. I can click on these columns and sort it by last seen or whatever, and I can say, okay, here's a guy with no time, and he's not marked DNS. That means it's a really good clue that this McLean Wilson is actually on the course. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. I want to show you that feature because a lot of people are not familiar with that. Again, another thing on the clock screen, and then after this, we're going to dig into the results kiosk and the tag check and all that stuff, is I want to show you this auto scroll, and you may wonder, what is this here for? So let me pull up a race that's got some times in it. I'm just going to pick, hopefully this one's got, no, it didn't have enough. Well, I can pull in both the races. Let me pick a different one though, see if it's got, okay, that's got more. So I'm going to pull in all the races, so we got tons of times here. So let's imagine that you're using let me switch over here, the bib number sheet. And it looks like my daughter's been drawing on this. So you look at the bib number sheet, and you have a clue, you have a feeling that somebody maybe wasn't picked up. And so you look over and say, hey, how many bib numbers you have? Or maybe you look up at your manual timing computer and you see, hey, they've got more times than I've got. There might be a problem here, right? And so what you want to do is you want to have the person with the bib number sheet, kind of cross-reference with you, hey, what bib number do you have at position 50, right? And if their number 50 and your number 50 matches, you're okay, keep going. Hey, what do you have at number 100? And once you find, oh, wait a minute, I'm correct at 50, but I'm off at 100, obviously somewhere between 50 and 100, you've got more times than I've got, right? And you want to figure that out. So then you start going back and forth. What do you got for 75? Okay, if you're good at 75, now you know it's between 75 and 100, right? So you keep narrowing it down until you find out that problem. And so what you do is you actually look at your screen, and I'll show you back over here. You'll look at your screen and you'll keep scrolling down. Hey, what do you have for this one? And so let's say we're at position 75, which is right here, and you know that the problem is between here and here, okay, between 75 and 100. Well, here's the issue. Let's say someone, you're timing the race and you're trying to figure out this problem, and I don't see anybody without a time here. Let's just say someone crosses. I'm going to hit the space bar. Well, what happens? The software pushes you to the bottom, okay, because the auto scroll to new read is on. The problem is if you're trying to figure out an issue, and let's say it's between 75 and 100, every time someone finishes, you have to scroll back up to get back to where you were, so you can start calling out bib numbers. So, let's say it's starting at number 75. I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to read you bib numbers. You tell me where it's off. I'm going to say 8354, 8229, 8112. And so if you turn this off, then you'll still get the the audible ding when someone finishes. You'll still hear your camera click, and it's still there'll still be a flicker. You see it's flickering a little bit whenever times are captured. However, you can still stay in this one position. That way, you can continue on trying to verify the problem or fix the problem while new reads are coming on. So just be aware that that's what that is. All right. Quick results. That's the last thing on this screen. This is a big one. Because another inevitable thing that will happen at just about every race you time is that somebody will come up, either a family member or their participant, and say, "Hey, can you tell me how little Johnny did? He's bid number 8410 or whatever." And so you can either type in part of the name 8410 or the bid number, and you can simply pull this up. Basically, I wanted to provide something that's quick and easy to provide everything they might want to know, so I can get them out of my tent. Right? Because I'm saying this like I'm going to be nice about it, right? I'm going to say, "Oh, sure, I'll do that for you." But my objective is to get you out of here. And so, again, you can type in any part of the first name or last name. Let's say there's multiple of Johns, for example. Then I can say, "Oh, well, what's his last name?" "Oh, it's John," or first name is John. "Okay, what's his last name?" or whatever, right? And then you double click on the one and it shows the info. So I try to make it to where it's real quick and easy to type in bid number or name, get the results up, and get them out of here. Now, what will happen is often they'll pull up their phone and, "Oh, let me take a picture of that," or whatever. And I'll show you, some of the other features to give them the answers, but also point them to somewhere else to get pictures and all that stuff. But I wanted to show you this quick results TV. Now, by the way, let me pull up another race where there's no finishers for somebody. Let's go back to this indoor track. Well, that's got finished for everybody. Okay, here we go. Let's see. So let me show you what happens based on a few scenarios here. Say we got the 10K and we bid number 11. Let's say someone comes up and says, "Hey, has bid number 11 come in?" or Sean, or whatever his name is. It'll say Sean has not finished yet. Okay. Let's say that Sean, let's say he's got a chip start time though. Okay, and we go back to quick results, 11. It says, "Hey, he was picked up 59 seconds after the start, but he's not finished yet." So the software on this screen tries to give you a clue the best it can on what it knows. Because what happens is the race director might come back and say, "Hey, I know Sally Jane, she runs every one of my races. Has she come in yet? Or did she show up this year?" or whatever. And so you can type in, Sally or whatever. Now, of course, that's not a name. Let me find somebody. And it'll say, "Hey, she started, but she hasn't finished." Or, it'll tell you what it knows. So that's a neat feature here. All right, we're going to look at the public display. This is a real quick and easy one because this is a simple feature. I already showed you how you can change the font size and everything, but I wanted to show you how to dock it onto another screen real easy. Because if you pull this screen up and you've got it going to a big screen TV, I don't want you, whenever it's sunny outside and it's hard to see anyway, it's really hard to find this little box right here. But you don't have to. Just simply drag it to where it's at least 51% over on the other screen, just like this, and double click on this title bar, okay? So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to drag it over here where it's 55%. See, now I've dragged it onto this screen that you see, and I'm going to double click on the title bar. You can't see my mouse, but I'm going to double click here anyways. And what happens is it docks full screen. So just be aware that you don't have to drag it over all the way like this and then try to find this button here, because that's really hard to do in the sunlight. Just drag it 51%, and then double click. Okay, now it's docked over on my other screen. Okay, so that's how that works. All right, let me check for questions in Lap Manager. Instead of numbers for each runner, can you enter their names? No, it's just number on that top left where it's got the bib number box. It's either clicking on their number on the screen or typing the number in, pressing enter, or of course on the clock screen, the actual timing clock screen, not the one with all the let me pull it up here. So yeah, your only options are to do your actual timing here like you normally would, and simply let this be a display that people, oh, that's not the one I wanted. Simply let this be a display that other people see, and you don't mess with it at all. So that's your three options: either typing a bib number here, clicking on a number there, or timing it normally here with either space bar and whatever, or let's see, 13. Yeah, or the RFID. So yeah, there's no way to type a name in. Now I think it'll tell you what team they belong to and all that stuff if you put your mouse over it. So you do see the name here. So you see I've got Russell Paul in here, team number 1. So you can put your mouse over it and see who they are. Jimmy Edison, is it possible to change the chip start / differential by the 10th or 100th of a second rather than just by the second? Oh, that's a good question. I think this is, I could change this, but it's simply a date timestamp here. It is only by the second right now. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, any other way to change this. I know that another way to change it is over here, but I think it's also a date timestamp. So I could do a chip start here. Yeah, and it's just down to the second here. All right. Good questions. Let's see. Okay, so tag check. That's the next screen we're going to look at. Again, it'll be kind of quick. It's one though that I would recommend if you're going to start with any of the luxury features. This is the one to start with. I'm actually going to use the screen behind me. Let me show you the setup I've got here. So I've set up a couple touchscreen monitors. Oh, let me turn this way. We're going to use this one as the one for the tag check, the announcer screen, and the quick results TV screen, all that stuff. And this one will simply be my results kiosk screen. In fact, as I was timing earlier, some of these times were automatically being populated here, even though I wasn't watching it. So we'll see how all that gets updated and works in a second. And I had to drop the brightness of these down to as low as I'll go so that there wouldn't be all glare. So I hope y'all can see them okay. I know you can't see them clear, but just you'll get the idea, and I'll point out what we're looking at. But so the tag check, I'm going to use it over here. So I'm going to go to race day tools, and I'll let you see it. Well, anyways, it's under, you pull up a race, you get race day tools in the top right corner, and click on tag check. Okay, it'll ask you which races do you want available in the tag check screen, and typically you want all of them. There's an option here that says check all, and you hit continue. Okay, so this will pull up this screen. It is trying to connect to the reader right now. I hope my reader is still connected. My kids were in here earlier. Let's just see what happens if it tries to connect. If it doesn't, I'll unplug the reader and plug it back in. Now, by the way, if you ever see that the reader doesn't connect while you're on the screen, you can click with your mouse, or if it's a touch screen, you just touch here and it'll try to reload that list of readers. And so let's try it and see. Oh, see there? I clicked it and it refreshed itself and got it. So that's another thing that most people don't know is you can do that. And another thing, by the way, and it says it up here, if you wanted to hide this Windows frame, and it's hard to see because there's a little line here down, but there's the X button and all that stuff. You can actually click here and it'll hide, double click, and it'll hide the Windows frame. All that does is it saves you from someone, if you had a touch screen, closing that screen out. And you can double click again to bring it back. So that's two features that are kind of hidden, but are there. So with the tag check, let me see if this belongs to anybody. So the tag check is, again, I'm using the little Thinkify reader right here. You present the tag, or the runner does, and it shows you, it says, let us know if anything's not right. And it shows their name, what race they belong to, the bib number, the gender, the type of athlete they are, and then all their eligible divisions. And so if their age was wrong, because some people are very sensitive about showing their exact age, but if their age is wrong, you want to know about it because obviously your results will be wrong. And so this lets you know everything that you need to know for your results to be right. And so that's why it's such a simple thing to set up. I set this up on the same computer that's doing my registration. So I just have an HDMI cable, which is what this is on this side of it. And I'm using a small netbook for this example. Yeah, so it's just a reader, and you can use any reader, but I'm using this one. Typically, I do use an antenna like this so that the athletes, they simply take their tag and drop it on it, okay? Or if it's a U tag or whatever, or if it's got a goodie bag. One thing that athletes don't seem to understand, now I've got a bag of cookies here. Let's say it's your goodie bag, and let's say your tag is in here somewhere. Just drop it on drop the whole thing, the whole bag with the shirt and everything. Drop it on there, and it'll pick it up. And so that's a neat feature. But usually what I do is I hide this antenna under a table, and I just say, oh, drop it on the table, and they drop it on the table, and they're amazed. They're like, whoa, how'd that table read my information? They don't see the antenna under it reading up. So that's kind of, but anyways, so the tag check is a big one. All it is you hook up a TV to a laptop, and you simply, as they scan, hey, let us know if something's wrong. It's a wow factor for the participants. The race directors love it because, again, they don't have to worry about people getting the wrong bids. You don't have to worry about people registering online wrong. It saves a lot of headache. And yeah, if you have the resources where you can buy a separate TV and TV stand and reader, and by the way, these are like, $400 something. I think a little over 400. You may find it cheaper and better just to get you a 2-port Motorola reader, the FX7400 or 7500, because then you have the ability to have a strong reader for split stations or a backup reader, whatever. Often you can find those cheaper than you can find this. This is convenient simply for how quick and easy it is to hook up. But this is one I usually use. If I didn't have this at all, I'd look to see if I can get a cheap Zebra or Motorola reader. But those are nice. So like I said, it's quick and easy. But yeah, so that's the whole setup: is a laptop, TV, and then a little reader, and that's your tag check. And again, this would be your registration computer. So usually I have this screen. Right now I've got the screen closed, but I have the screen open with my registration screen. That way, if I need to make a change, I make the change real quick on the screen, and then I have them present the tag again just to confirm, hey, now is it correct? So you would do it all on one station. Now you can have multiple stations set up to where you're doing tag check on multiple. However, you want to have one computer that's your primary. Okay, hey, a change needs to be made. You got to go over there to that, tag check station number 1 or whatever, because that's your primary database with all the changes in it. So that's the tag check screen and how that works. Door prize machine. So let me switch back to the. Well, I can show you here. Well, it'd be easier on this computer here. So let me do that. So let's say, because again, this is a common thing where a race is going to give away door prizes, and what's a hassle for them is having to collect raffle tickets and hope that everyone turned them in, and then have to have some mechanism where they can, be fair and keep everything organized and draw out names and whatever. It's just a headache for them. And so, again, the software, I try to add in everything I could dream of that people might need. And so one of them is this give door prizes. And the way this works is you can decide, which races you want to give door prizes for. I'm going to go ahead and do these two. I'm going to hit continue. And on this screen, what you see is you have the ability to determine how many winners you're going to draw. So, let's say we're going to give away 3 30-minute massages for Massage Envy or something or whatever. So I can say I'm going to get 3 winners, if you want to just make it quick and do 3 at a time. And you can decide, do you want to do all registrants or people that finish? And when it says finishers, by the way, if they were picked up at the start, if they have a split time, or of course if they have a finish time, it doesn't matter. We indicated they're here. That's all that we care about is they're here. They may not have finished, but we have a time for them. Okay, so that's those people will be included here. Because again, if you've been to races, it stinks whenever they're calling out, all right, this winner, Joe Bob, and Joe Bob, are you here? And of course, there's that awkward, everyone's waiting, and it's just better to have it towards finishers only typically. But if you want to make it available to all, you can. So that's what this is finishers only. Higher probability they're actually there. And then you can decide 1 prize per person, or there's no prize limit. So if you didn't want some fluke thing to happen where it draws the same person, maybe you've got 5 total door prizes and it just by some fluke drew the same name 3 times. That's not that's not good. That's not fair. I mean, maybe it is fair because they just got lucky, but still, if you wanted to say, it's only 1 prize per person, then of course, if I do get winners, then I can know these people are not going to come up again for the next door prize. Or you can say, well, I don't care. Let them, keep them in the pot, basically. Then you can do get winners again. They might or might not be there. Okay. So yeah, that's how that works. It looks like I've done this enough to where now there's no, I've done prizes for everybody for these particular races. But so I'll go back to no prize limits, and there you go. And then all registrants. Oh, here's what it was. I did finishers only. I did 1 prize per person. And so therefore, as I looped through, it was only doing these ones with times. So that's why it ran out so quick. So yeah, but anyways, I just want you to know that that's how that feature works. We do it back to no prize limit. So now it's random people. Okay. Okay, so that's the door prize machine. And now typically I would, sometimes I have races that want to give door prizes as a way to pass the time and keep people entertained while we're waiting on walkers. Well, the problem with that is that, if you're timing a race, I'm trying to remember if you have access. Okay, so you can still use this feature while you're timing, but often what I do is I'll bring up a second computer and have it, if I know they're going to give door prizes or if I think they might, if I have any spare computers, I may copy the database to it if it doesn't already have it and use a separate computer. That way I can just give them the computer and let them use the feature, and I'm focused on timing. But I want you to know that feature's there. So, okay. One other thing at the door prize machine, by the way. Let's say that they are going to give the prize away, whether or not the person's there or not, but they don't want to have to remember or write down who won what. Oh, I pulled up the wrong screen. So let's say that you had, 3 winners for that massage place, all participants and no prize limit. So I'm going to pull up 3. And let's say it's like, oh crap, these 3 people aren't here. Maybe they're all family members or whatever. And so you can right click and export this to a file if you wanted to and say, massage envy, winners or whatever. And you could save every one of these. You can have a folder, for example, that says prize winners or whatever. So that way, as the prizes are drawn, if the person isn't there, you can simply right click real quick, save it out, and say, okay, now I've got that list with that, now it looks like I've got a problem with the export on this screen for some reason, but that will be fixed by tonight. But anyways, you can save this out and it will save that, bid number and name, and then of course the file name tells you what they won. So I just want you to show that's available. All right, next is the announcer station. We'll show you back on the webcam here. So this is a feature where if you're timing a really large race, or maybe it's not that large. I know that, for example, Central Kentucky Race Management, good guys there, hung out with them. They do an awesome job because one of their race timers is like a professional DJ. He's like on the radio and everything. And so they bring like a big production setup with a, sound system and everything. And they're yelling people's names, and they do an awesome job keeping everyone entertained. And so if you have like a DJ or you plan on calling people's names out as they approach the finish line, the announcer screen is a really nice thing to use. And so I'll show you, it's under Race Day Tools. Let me close this out. Race Day Tools, Announcer Station. Okay. Again, it's going to ask you which races do you want to pull into or make available for the announcer screen. Okay. And now it's ready. So what happens is you set this up maybe 100 meters or 50 meters before your finish line, and you've got someone maybe on a large screen TV. I've done it to where I had my antennas and readers stretched out as far away from the finish line as I go, and I had a 30-foot or 50-foot HDMI cable going to a TV all the way near the finish line. So my equipment was like 50, 100 feet away, because you can run an extension cord and HDMI and then run your antennas even further down, right? So I had my antennas reading far away from the finish line, but my TV was close to the finish line. So I had a DJ there with a microphone, and as people would come up, it would say, hey, there's Brian Agee, running the 5K, whatever. And the software allows you to put a special note in if you want to on any participant. And I actually had it at one point, the code is still there, to where it automatically showed like happy birthday if it was the birthday, or within a week of the birthday. It would show like, birthday was 5 days ago. And I took it out, and I don't remember the reasoning why. It sounds like you may be thinking, why would you take that out? But there's a good reason why I couldn't reliably predict. Oh, here's what it was. Because if you pulled in a file that had only ages, then my software just put in a January 1st month and day, and whatever year made you that age on that race date. And so then I realized, well, wait a minute, I can't assume that. And of course, someone might say, well, why don't you do it to where if the birthday is not January 1st, and then assume that birthday is right. There was too many things where I could tell that the software may tell someone happy birthday and it's not really birthday. Then it's even more awkward. So you can put a special note in, though, in the software I can say 50th marathon or whatever, right? So this would show whatever you want. And so the announcer would simply have all the information they need to show whatever they want. Sloan Reed running the 5K or whatever, bid number 411. So it shows their hometown. I guess I don't have address information for that person. If I had, yeah. So I guess in my info that I pulled in here, let me try a couple others. I didn't put address info in. Yeah, in fact, this one does. Hometown, Memphis, Tennessee. So this will tell you where they're from and all that stuff. So, all right. So that's the announcer screen, and it's set up the same way. You don't have to worry about the clock or anything with it. You simply turn the reader on. You simply have to give it a database with people in it. Now, the way this works is, let's say that 3 people cross at the same time. This is simply an announcer station. This is not a timing station. So if 3 people cross, here's 3 tags, 3 different tags. It's going to simply pull up one of them. Okay. Now, obviously, it could be that this person, and then right after that was another person. So it very well could be that the announcer gets a glimpse of, hey, here's Sloan and Ava or whatever, right? But if the announcer, you know, they're going to call out the vast majority of people. It'll still get most people, but this is a screen that's going to simply show whoever is in the read zone at that moment. And if there's 3, it'll simply show 1. And so someone might say, well, don't you stack the names and all this stuff? I'm like, well, the more I stack stuff or whatever, someone's going to want 5, someone's going to want 10, because one person's got a big screen TV, the other one's trying to read from a small laptop screen or whatever. And so I just have it to where the announcer screen is just 1. So. Okay. Now, of course, it's the moment that tag, leaves, the other one comes in. I mean, it's instant that it switches, but it's one at a time. Rod Simpson door prize. Can you exclude the podium people, first, second, third? Right now, no. It's simply, if you're in the race, then you're eligible for door prizes. There's all these things that sound like, hey, it's not a bad idea to maybe think about. I mean, I've never heard of any race saying, I don't want to give door prizes to the winners. I can see why, because you're trying to get as many people as possible to walk away with something they're going to brag about. I understand that, where the winners are going to brag, hopefully. Maybe they post on Facebook, look at my trophy or whatever. You want everyone to have a good time. I understand that. But it's one of those things that we could dream all day long of a million features to put in just because of an edge case that someone may want this small thing. But then the more we add in, then obviously the more complicated the software looks. And my goal is to find where's that line to where the software does everything you need, but at the same time it's not overwhelming to brand new people. And so, no, that's an interesting request, but I've never heard that one before. But anyways, okay, next, announcer station. So yeah, showing all that. Results kiosk. So this is probably the big one. I know this is the. People say they compared to all of the results kiosks out there, they love the way this one does because the sticker and all that stuff. So I guess before there's multiple points here, I'm going to show you this before we swap over the screen. So the results kiosk, it's a thermal printer. This one looks pretty beat up because I use it all the time. Last race was a mud run. I haven't cleaned it off yet. So this is like the QL 800. Oops. Over here behind me is the QL 700. Any QL series printer will work. They do make wireless versions and all kinds of stuff. I've only used the wired versions, the 700 and the 800, but the code is written to work with any QL series printer. But yeah, I would feel more comfortable if you go with whatever I use because I know it works, right? But the paper that you buy to put in there, usually you can find this online around $5, maybe upwards of 10 at max. Obviously, the more you buy, like if you buy 20 rolls, it's going to be a little cheaper. But this is a 100-foot roll, continuous roll paper, and it will print about 800 stickers per roll. Right, so that's what it looks like. And what's nice with these is it's not like your receipt style paper where if you leave it in the sun, it all curls up and turns black and whatever. This is designed so that they can stick it on the back of the bib, back of the metal, or whatever. Because I don't know if you're a runner like me, you've got bibs from 20 years ago that it's like, oh, there's my whatever bib. What did I run for that? Or how did I do or whatever. Well, now they can stick this on the back of the bib and they can know, oh, look, I ran this time. Here's how I did overall. Here's how many people were in the race. Here's the day the race happened. Everything. Here's how I did my age division, my speed, my pace, everything. So people love this little sticker. So you want to get the 100-foot continuous roll, and it's being a thermal printer. I didn't explain what that is. It means it uses no ink. So what's nice about these is that at full price they're like 110, 120 bucks. But you can almost always wait every month or two or a few times a year. Like it's always staples.com for some reason. They'll sell these for $35 a piece, brand new. Okay, so so often you get lucky and do that. So they print super fast. It automatically cuts it for you and everything. So I mean, you'll see it happen in a second. A really nice printer. When you get the printer in, it comes by default with a small roll like this. Okay, let me show you what I do. They sell reusable cartridges, the plastic pieces. But what I found online is that most people do this. They simply use the paper up or take it off of the roll. You have to take it all off. It's not, again, it comes with a small roll, so it doesn't take very long. But you take it all off, and what you're left with is you're left with a, I don't think I can take this out. There's a cardboard piece in there, right? So you're left with an empty cardboard piece that is attached to, get this on here, a piece that's connected like this, okay? So this is connected like that. Now what I do is I simply cut through the cardboard and cut through the plastic, and now guess what? It's a reusable piece. So whenever you get your new roll, you will simply hook it on, put that in there, slide it into place, and you're good to go. So don't buy a reusable cartridge when you can just cut this one in two right down the middle, and now you can easily swap the paper out, okay? And put your new roll on, and you're good to go. So yeah, so that's just one thing that you can cut it in half. Use a fine blade saw, of course, and knock it out. Let me see what else. How to set up the QL printer. Different screen layouts. Okay, yeah. So let's get to the networking part of the results kiosk. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to set up your computers so they can talk to each other. Now, I'm not a network professional, but I know enough to get the job done. So there may be a better way. Again, if you're a network professional watching this, put in the comments if there's a better way. Don't put in the comments if there's a different way, but it's if it's harder for your average non-network person. So I'll show you the way I do it. I feel like it's probably the easier way because I'm not a network guy. So I'm going to do it the path of least resistance, right? So first thing I do is I go to Control Panel. Again, I'm going to move kind of, oh wait, I didn't realize, let me drop this over. So I pull up Control Panel and I'll start from the beginning again. So I'll just go down here to Start and type the word Control. Okay, Control Panel should appear. First thing I do is I go to Network and Sharing Center. I go to Change Advanced Sharing Options. And then the first thing I do is I go ahead, turn on network discovery. And I basically turn on all things, like turn everything on. Like, I turn off password protected sharing. That's the one thing you turn off. But I turn on all sharing. You don't have to touch this option right here where it says enable file sharing on devices, whatever. You don't have to do that. Leave it whatever the default was. I don't think I've touched this on this computer, so leave it whatever the default is. But everything else you're going to turn on, except you're going to turn off the password protected sharing. Now this is on by default. You're going to turn that off. Okay, so that basically allows the network to say, hey, allow me to be discoverable and let me find other computers on the network. So that's step number one. Okay, is to go to Control Panel. If it brings you up to this menu, you can either go to the small icons here, or if you go to the large or category, you go to Network and Internet, then Network and Sharing Center, okay? And that brings you over here. We got the Change Advanced Sharing Options, and you go to turn on the network discovery and all that stuff. So that's how you get to those settings. Your next thing is you're going to want to set up a shared folder. Now, the way you want to set up the shared folder on the timing computer, okay? So on this computer that we're currently on, this one right here. And the reason why is because the timing, while you're timing a race, you want the race timing computer, because what it's doing is it's creating a backup of the database, creating a copy of it, and pushing it out to the shared folder, the backup path, okay? So that is set here in settings, right here. Okay, so this is your backup path. So whenever you're timing a race, you don't want the computer struggling to push a file across the network if your network isn't very strong or whatever. So you want the backup creation to go to a place that's super quick and easy locally, right, somewhere on itself. And so it can create that backup and push it out real quick without even blinking an eye hardly, okay? And so what you'll do is you'll now you can do this anywhere. You can do it on the desktop, but I've just gotten the habit of doing it in the public folder because I think the public, the user public is designed to be a public folder, right? So I just get in the habit to where I go to C. So if you go to, let me pull up, let's start from the very beginning. I'm going to pull up either, I can do Windows E, which pulls up File Explorer, or often you'll see a little folder down here. You can click on it, pulls up, Windows Explorer. Just some way pull up, this option where you can get to your C drive. Go to Users. Go to Public Documents. All right, so this is where my database is at. So I'm actually going to go back, and I'm going to say Public Documents. I'm going to go to Properties. I'm going to go to Sharing, and I'm going to go to Advanced Sharing. Okay, I'm going to say I'm going to share this folder, and I'm going to give full access to everybody. Now, a true networking person may be freaking out, like, "Oh man, you're going to do this?" Look, I'm just going to put a database file there. It's true that somebody could possibly jump on my network and possibly delete that file. But what's the worst thing? Like, I'm sure someone's going to paint some picture of, "Oh, they can put a virus." Just let's not get crazy here. We're just having a file, simply going to another computer so it can, upload the results over there. So this is what I do. Again, someone else may chime in and tell a better way, but that's what I do. So now you've got a public shared folder, and of course you can make sure it's shared here and all that stuff. And this is your computer name, and this is what it's going to be listed as. So whenever on your other computers, they should be able to find this. So in fact, let me switch over to the webcam. So pay attention to this path right here. This is your computer name and the folder that we've shared. Let me pull this. I'll tell you what. Let me grab another laptop here. All right. So this is a computer that has not accessed that folder yet. I will pull it up quickly while we're waiting on that. While we're waiting on this to boot up, I will tell you that those settings I showed about how to make the computer, network discovery and all that stuff turned on, you may want to check that periodically, because Windows updates, especially after Windows updates, some of those will be turned back off. And so that's one thing you want to be comfortable going to Networking Sharing Center and then checking those advanced sharing options, because again, after Windows update, it'll possibly turn off. So as long as this computer is on the same network as this computer, and again, it's got network discovery and all the same stuff turned on. So on all your computers, you want to do this if you're going to use them for results kiosk or anything else, the announcer station or whatever else. This computer's taking a while to come up. Come on now. All right, so let me get it logged in. Now, I have not confirmed that I've got all that stuff turned on this yet. We'll see. The point is, I should be able to type in pull up the address bar, and this is taking forever still, so I'll just do it over here. So on any computer, you should be able to go to / the name of the computer. Looks like it's not going to put it in for me when I do that. Let's try this. Okay, so right there, and it'll pull up automatically this document folders. Now it looks like I've got a couple other folders I've shared. But here's the one you're looking at for. So on your kiosk computer, you should be able to navigate to this path just to confirm you can see it. Okay, so there's your database path. So if your kiosk computer can see it, this is what you'll set up as your backup location, which I'll show you in a second. And it'll automatically, when the kiosk screen is open, be checking this location to say, "Hey, is there a new database file I need to pull across and update?" And if so, it'll simply update itself. So what's nice is your clock computer is constantly feeding new databases to the backup folder that we're currently on right now. And your kiosk computer is constantly looking, "Hey, is there a new one? If so, pull it across and update it." Now, your kiosk computer and all your other computers, when it comes to that quick results TV and different things, are not as essential as your main timing computer. So it's okay with me if it does the work of pulling the file across the network and updating itself, but I don't want my timing computer doing the hard job of pushing it across the network to a shared folder in another computer, right? And with having the shared folder on the timing computer and all the other computers pulling from it, that means you can set up 20 results kiosk computers or whatever you want, and they're all pulling from the same shared folder and updating themselves automatically. So you can have as many results kiosk set up as you want. I hope I have not totally left you on all that, but that's how that is set up. Let's imagine that we're back on the, let's say this is our kiosk computer, okay? Your kiosk computer and your main timing computer will have the exact same backup path. Now, I just lied to you a little bit because they're pointing to the same folder. Your main timing computer may have it listed as C, users, public documents, and so on. Your kiosk computer will have it listed as, I like to map a drive. So like you see this path right here. I just copied it. So if I go navigate to it, there should be, it may not do it because it's here on my local machine. There should be an option here to map network drive. Okay, so I can assign this path to a specific drive letter. Okay, so in fact I've done that to some of the computers here. Now this computer is my head timers computer, is not here with me, and this is a good clue to say if the computer cannot see that network, you'll see what it does here. So if you ever pull this up and it shows like a little red symbol and you try to click on it and nothing happens, that means your computer, your network's not set up to where everything can see each other. So if you do a map network drive, you can quickly see, is everything working or not? And what's nice, by the way, is when you have a map network drive, on your kiosk computer, you don't have to put in like //, computer name / documents or whatever. You simply can go say, hey, I'm going to point this to my S drive, which of course is the shared folder in the main timing computer. Right now, obviously that drive isn't available now, but if it was, you would be able to point to it and see it here simply listed as S. I probably left you on that if you're not a little bit familiar with networking stuff, but the whole setup is your main timing computer and your kiosk computer, they will both have a local path. This is on their own machines, like maybe both of them are pointed to their own desktops. However, they'll both be pointed to the same folder here. So yeah, hope that makes sense. Okay. Let's see. So let's set the network. So once you have the kiosk computer up and going, and let's say now one thing I use on race day is a wireless router like this. Now it can be any wireless router. There's nothing special about this. This is like a N300 or something. I don't remember what it is. And I've got videos showing I'm reading pretty far away and it's doing great. Let's see what this one is. Belkin N600 is what this is. And so it does fine. The one thing I do on this is I do disable like the guest account or something, and I make it to where there's, and again, this is probably going to scare the network people out there. There's no password to connect to it. I rename the wireless network it creates, and I'll show you my computer what it looks like. It is on right now. There should be a blue light or red light or something. So if you look at the wireless networks available, I renamed it to be called ART AG Kiosk. So that lets me know that's the network that my kiosk computer and my timing computer need to be connected to. Now, what I've also do sometimes is I can network all my stuff together and publish live results and do everything using my phone's hotspot. And so it's the same thing. As long as they're on the same network, they should all be able to talk to each other. And yeah, so you can either use a hotspot or a wireless router like I've got here. All right, so let's say, how do you want to check and see that your backup path is working? So on the screen here, let's imagine that we're on the kiosk screen. I'm going to pull up the results kiosk screen here. Now, if your network is working and doing well, this date right here will be black. If your network is not working or goes down, this date turns red. Now, this date represents when was the last time the kiosk was updated. So as you're timing the race, and as the data, database is being backed up and pulled across and updating all that stuff, this date will get updated all throughout the race. So you can watch this date and get a clue. Hey, when was the last time this kiosk was updated? Is it fairly current? Is it doing a good job? And so, and again, if this date turns red, that tells you, oh, the network's down. There's a problem. Now, your worst case scenario, if you really want to have the results kiosk, is you can use a jump drive and bring the database back and forth. That stinks. I mean, that's not fun. You want it to be, a wireless setup to where you basically set up and forget about it. And with the kiosk, by the way, I usually set the network up, because one thing that's nice with the kiosk is that it'll automatically update everything. So you can set this up even before you have any athletes in the race. You know how earlier we were doing the paperless registration, they had no athletes until people check in. You can set the kiosk up, like maybe as soon as you show up at the race, you set it up and forget about it. As you time the race, it'll get new databases, automatically load all the athletes. Even if you change divisions on the main timing computer, it'll automatically update the division so that whenever people go to type in their bid number, it'll show the correct division placement and everything. Okay, so your kiosk should be, as long as you've got everything networked together, your kiosk should be set up and forget about. Hopefully you've got plenty of paper. Like I said, it prints 800 labels per roll. So for most races, you should be able to set it up and not touch it at all. I do like to have a volunteer at the kiosk station where their only job is to get people in and get them out, because people will stand here all day long. And let me just go back to the webcam view here. People will stand here all day long and simply scroll through the results, seeing how everybody did and all that stuff. And they will have no concern about a long line forming behind them. So I like to have a volunteer at the kiosk station that does a couple things. Number one, they're saying, hey, you got your tags, you got your tags, you got your tags. They're trying to scan the tags because it's a quick and easy thing. Let's say that this is the kiosk thing. They scan it, get their print off, and get them out, right? And then they drop the tags in the bucket. So it helps ensure you get your tags back. Number two, it stops people from making a long line. And number three, if there's any kind of problems, that volunteer can be there to let me know, hey, this person is showing up as a female or whatever, right? And hopefully we caught all that beforehand. But they can be the liaison between me and anybody that has any questions or anything. So now, obviously, if let's say some hardware malfunction or whatever, right, and the kiosk needs to be shut down, I could tell them, hey, go ahead and tell people it's offline for about 10 minutes till I get time to look at it. You don't want to be the person that's trying to time and do all the support for all your accessories. It's better to have one dedicated volunteer that you say, look, here's all you got to do: scan the tag or type a number in. Just get people out of here, and then if there's a problem, come let me know, right? So, yeah. Okay. How to set up your QL 700 printer. So I'm not going to dig too much into this. These can sometimes be a little finicky on setting up. Most of the time it's no problem. In the software, if you go to the settings screen, I've got, I think, that all the links you need right here, to where you've got the print components and the design components. But you may have to search for QL 800 driver or whatever if you have any problems. And it's people have never really had that much issue getting it going. But I did want to bring up that it's not terribly uncommon if it's like, hey, this didn't work the first time, and then they did something. It didn't take that much more research to usually figure it out. But let's see. I do want to point out also the how to these stickers I showed you. You can totally customize a sticker to add on. Let's say you want to add sponsors' names or whatever. You can do that. That's under you have to install the P-Touch editor. Let's see if I got that here. Touch. P-Touch, yeah. So you can take the label. I don't know what that message said. Maybe I should have read it. Let's go. Let's see if I can find. Yeah, so here's. It says a driver for that printer's not. I don't have the printer hooked up, I think, is a problem. Is it going to pull it up? Let's see if it pulls. Okay, yeah. So here, if you wanted to, you can change the look of it, make it bigger, smaller. You can get rid of some fields or do whatever. So there is the ability to customize the printout if you need to. So, all right. I do want to show something with the results kiosk. So this is the results kiosk up here. Now, let's actually pull in. Let me reset the race back to 0. You'll see it should get updated. Now, there's about a few second delay. obviously whenever I do an action before you see it over there, but it's not very long. Okay, so I just copied it. Should see the date update. It's 8:41:22 right now. It should be okay now. It just updated to 9:21. I see there's no results, so I cleared the results out here. It's automatically cleared there. Let me go ahead and throw some times in. You should see them appear. I'm just going to start both races at the same time. Let me actually bump the times up a little bit so it looks a little more realistic. Save. All right, so we've got the tag check. Let's go ahead and make this the announcer screen. Let's just do a full. Oh, let's do the quick results TV. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go through a scenario where someone crosses the finish line. They go to the quick results TV. Now this says you want a photo with your results, stand next to this TV. Okay. They go to quick results TV and then they scan their tag over here on the other side. Right here, it's behind my tube, to get their kiosk sticker. Okay, let me turn my printer on. Now it looks like I was scanning tags earlier. I was trying to print, but my printer was off. Hopefully, who knows how many it's going to print now. Okay, good, just 3. Okay, so let's try this out. Let me see. I know this one's assigned to me. So all right, here we go. I'm about to finish. Oh, I didn't turn the readers on. Let me do that. Okay, here we go. Boom, just finished. We should see in a couple seconds. Again, none of this is hardwired. This is all going through my wireless at home, just all networked together. Should see the update here in a second. I know you can't see it, but it says 9:21:40 right now. The date is black. That means they can see each other on the network. Okay, just updated itself, and there's my time. Okay, well, you can't see that, can you? Now, by the way, on this screen, you can say, hey, don't auto scroll, stay on that result. So I can have it stay just on this screen. I can also increase or decrease the font size. I can tell it how often to refresh itself. I can also, let's say you don't want to have a printing screen. Let's say you want it to be only scrolling results or only results where people can, use their finger and scroll through. You can hide one section or another. So I can say I want to hide the div entry panel. Okay, so then that panel goes away. People don't even think they can, they can't do anything. If you don't have a reader attached, you don't want people type, maybe you don't have a touch screen. You just want it to be scrolling results. You can do that. Okay, or if you didn't want the scrolling results, maybe you only wanted a div entry screen where people can come up and type the number in. Now I think I don't know what number was I? 835. So if I go 835, search, maybe you want a screen that all it does is this, where it just simply allows people to come up, type their info in, and see it on the screen. They can also hit email. There's an email button here. If they hit email, it emails them their results. It'll say, hey, is this the email address you want to use? If you hit no, they can type in a new one. Yes, it simply sends that person their results. Okay. Automatically includes the run sign up link. So it says email sent. Okay. Or they can hit print. Okay, it just printed my time on this sticker. So there's that. So yeah, if you wanted to have it just show one or the other, you can do that. Now, if your reader is working, you'll see at the top it says scan RFID tag. Now, if your reader didn't connect for some reason, it wouldn't say that. It simply says search bib number. Okay. Okay. Now you can also switch it between gun time and chip time up here. I guess that's about it. Okay. So I was going to show you the different layouts of that screen based on if you have a reader or maybe you don't have a touch screen or whatever else. You can still use that screen, just change the layout of it. What's next on the... Okay, so I think that's hopefully it on the results kiosk. I hope I didn't gloss over anything that makes you feel uncomfortable setting it up. It's all about getting your computers where they can talk to each other. That's the number one thing. And then, again, getting the backup path on the kiosk pointed to the shared drive on the timing computer, and then getting the timing computer to where it's pushing database copies out to that shared drive. Usually once you've got it set up once, you just forget about it, but it's getting it set up once. I think hopefully in this video, if you do what I showed, it's pretty easy. Results TV. So I talked about coming across This one, did I not update? I may not have this one pointed to the right path here. Let's see what this one. There. It's supposed to auto update too. I'm not sure what I did wrong here. Let's just go back to 10K. Quick results TV. One of both. Hope I didn't have only one race. I may have only had just the 5K pulled in. Let's see. 835. I don't know what it's doing here. Earlier is working just fine, so I have to look that up and see. Yeah. So these don't have times, of course, according to them. But let me put in a few more just to double check it. So I'm gonna scan all these. All right. So there's a bunch of tags. And let's see if it comes across. All right. So we should start seeing a bunch of times show up here whenever this finally updates. And then we should be able to also, yeah, see it's updated 927. So, and I see it pausing for a second. So let me see. Okay, it's number 1. Okay, there we go. I don't know why it took so long. Let me try my 835 again. But the quick results TV, again, that'd be hard to see with the glare. They'll set their name, the race they're in. So this is designed so they can stand next to it, have their friends or family take the pictures, have the div overall, what their division was, first and whatever female masters it says, what the time was, what the pace was, what the speed was. So that's what this is designed to do. And of course, as I got the tag close, it printed their sticker too over here on the kiosk machine. But yeah, let me try this one again. I don't know why it's not doing 835 on this particular computer. I don't know on that one, but anyway, let's move on to the next one. All right, error live results. I haven't been paying attention, but I do have at least the 10K on error live results. I'll show you how to submit one. So if I go here, edit race. So this one's already on error live results because it's got the link here. Let me see if there's any times on there as we've been timing. Yep, so these are the ones I did before. We should, let me see if I can have it to where we can get both. Let's do just the 10K here. Let's see how responsive it is. All right, so let's say bib number 5 just crossed. We should see bib number 5 show up over here. We'll let that work. I know it's going to take a few seconds. Oh, you know what? I set this up as a still earlier. I think I guess I published instead of quarter split. Maybe we'll see. We'll see what happens. While we're waiting on that, the next thing I'll show you is over here in the photo booth. Let me pull this back up in a second. Let me try to reload. I don't think it does auto refresh by itself. And again, I didn't check to see. I should really start with a brand new race and have it republished because I'm not sure what I did here. It may not be linked up the right way, but let me try to do a publish here. Okay, so now that I've kind of got it resynced, now let's do one more time. Let's go bib number 10. I'm just going to maximize it so we can see. But as we enter times, it should automatically populate and add in all that stuff. Let's see how long that takes. I don't think I have to manually. Oh, there it goes. So it took, I don't know, a few seconds. I don't know how long that was. But so that's the error live results. And again, if we had multiple splits, it would simply tack on more columns showing you, hey, here's this person's split at this point. I'm not sure what all you get whenever you click on someone's name. Yeah, so basic stats about them. Okay, let's go to the photo booth feature. We're almost at the end of this thing. Click here. So this is the photo booth. probably something that no one's ever used. I've used it at one race. Pretty cool feature, but a photo booth. So this says, hey, by the way, we're about to pull up a screen that you can't easily close, and I'll show you kind of a quick hint, like here's how you close it. You can either, if you have a keyboard, you can do Alt F4. That's a Windows default, like it closes any screen. Or you can do a little secret combination. You can double click here, and then click once there, and that'll kind of give you a password to pull up the Windows bar to close it out. And so that's what that's. Let me hit OK. And now the webcam should come on. Now this is, again, you actually looking at yourself here, so it's got multiple screens. But so we should have, we got a webcam on. You see my hand here, kind of my thumb. So webcam is on, and this is up. Now, of course, I got the brightness real low, so hard for you to see. But up here in the top right corner, it says take my picture. Okay, it's got a big arrow saying start here. And so they say take my picture, and it says get ready, and it'll say 3, 2, 1 in the middle of the screen. Okay, and so what'll happen is they're standing there. Maybe they got their bibs on or whatever, and they got their friends around them. And they say you want to keep it or not keep it. Now you can't see it on the screen. And if I didn't like the photo, I can say don't keep, and it goes back to the webcam, and I can take another one. So let's take one more picture. 3, 2, 1. Smile, and I say I'm gonna keep that one. It says you want to take another photo. Well, yeah, let's do another one. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh. Now I'm using these little netbooks, which can barely run Windows. So these PCs, the last race I timed them in, I was thinking, okay, that's the last one, but we're using them for the demo. I'm going to go and keep that one too. And now once you're done, it says you want to take another photo. I'm going to say no, we're done. Okay, now it gives you the option to email me my photos. That's what this is down here. Okay. Anyways, I'm going to say email me my photos. And now what this lets you do is an RFID scan. That's what this button is here. A bib number search or a name search. So if all the people, let's say you got an antenna close, if they want to do an RFID scan, they can do this. And let's say you have it projected towards where they would be standing, they would automatically pull in people's names. And it's hard to see there, but it popped in all the names that just scanned. And let's say that someone happened to walk by when it's doing the RFID scan. Well, he's not in there. Like you can take people out if you want to. And what will happen is you say finish. Okay. Now, when you hit finish, it's going to try to email everybody. It actually populates them in this list, kind of final confirmation before you finish. Or let's say that someone wasn't wearing their tag. You can do a bib number search. Let's do 835. And yeah, there's my name. And then once I'm done, I can say finish. And let's say they don't know their bib number. Let's say they know their name. Of course, you do the same thing. Let's do okay, so let's say, oh, Joshua's in this one, okay? So they can take in or put in whoever they want, finish, and then when they hit finish, it will email everyone their photos. Now, if it doesn't know someone's email, if you didn't pull that in, it'll ask them to type it in, hey, what's the email address for Josh AG? And so it'll email them all their photos. They cancel all these I don't have emails for. And then send them all their photos with, hey, thank you for coming to this race, and it's got the race name, the date, here's your photos, right, as an email. So pretty cool feature. So that's what this is. Again, no one probably ever uses it, but I was trying to dream up what all features can I add to this program that adds to the wow factor and gives the participants something to do while they're waiting on the results. If you've got obviously the early finishers and you're still waiting on the some awards finishers to come in. So that's the photo booth feature. And then the final two things, and we'll finally be done, is the custom live export and then the customizing results. This will be super quick. Let me go back to the screen here. All right, so on the screen here, if run sign up. I've told people before. I think I've told them this. Seems like everything they touch turns to gold. So they're developing a timing software results hosting platform system that I don't fully understand. Its piece in the market yet. I know that if you use other systems, for example, where you do need actually just a results hosting platform where you've got a good reader, and system that feeds data out to, some, like, let's say race director or something, and then, from there that program handles the results. Within that, that's a program that would be good for you. That, for me, kind of offering an all-in-one thing where it's for your small to medium-sized race directors, and this is your end-all piece, does everything you need. To me, I guess I'm not big enough timer to see how this results hosting platform really benefits, but for someone like me. However, there are some races where maybe you've got a race that's so complicated or so crazy that you do need something bigger and stronger and more flexible than what my program can do. Well, then you can look at race day scoring. So one of the things you can do with that is set up a live data feed from my program that'll spit out a file that can be read by their program. And so you can do the custom export here. So you can right click on the list of athletes and do export file. You can decide where that file is going to go. And then here you get the option to create or select whatever format you want. So if you time a lot of races that you got to submit the results to, like the Boston Athletic Association, or you got time a lot of races where you got to submit the results to some other place like Ultra Sign Up or whatever, where they ask for a very specific format, you can create that format in here. You can say, well, they don't want they don't want it to be called sex, they want it to be called gender, right? And so you can change the field names. You can decide, hey, they want first name first, and then they want last name, and then they want bib number, and oops, I want first name first. Like that. So bib number, and maybe they want gender, and maybe they don't want date of birth, maybe they want age. So all that stuff should be in here. So you can order the fields however you want, and select whatever you want. There's a lot of fields in here. You can call the file name whatever you want. So you can say, and it can have some dynamic values, like you can put a date timestamp in there. So I could say like date and then art export or whatever, right? So then it'll have a custom format of whatever the current date is dash the string value you put in here. So if I create this file, this is the name it's going to have. I can say I want a .text extension or .csv or whatever, and maybe it's not comma delimited, maybe it's pipe delimited. So I've tried to build a lot of flexibility in here so that no matter what format you're asked to provide as a timer, you can create that custom file format here and not have to go to Excel and create some have to create it from scratch every time. My hope is that this will provide what you need to spit out just about any format you need. So once you create a file format, now with race day scoring, I can't remember if I've already got one here. I don't. I want to say they only want like bib number and like a date timestamp or something. I don't remember what it was. So maybe it's finish date time. Or actually, there's one I think I called all reads. Yeah, live export only. So this will be every read in the system. So bib number, and you don't have to move it up. It'll automatically put it second. But if you wanted to, you can move it up just so you see it. But this, I think for race day scoring, they want bib number and simply all times. So if it's like a chip start time or split time or finish time, simply spit it out. And you're going to do the live export. You either have the option to append the file to so what'll happen is in the clock screen, you can specify how often it does it. You can say, hey, every 5 seconds, spit the data out. And I think it's by default like pretty instant though. Maybe you want to append all the data to a single file, or maybe you want it to overwrite the file every time, so that every time it spits out a file, it overwrites the old file if you want to, or simply create a new sequential file for every export. Now, these little question mark buttons tell you how all that works. But here, let's just go ahead and save. Oh, I didn't put a file name in, so let's call this RDS for race day scoring, and we'll call this RSU_art, and it's a CSV, and save. Okay, so now we've got an RDS live export. If I hit OK right now, it would actually spit out the file, bib number and time. We can look at it if we want to, but the concept, though, is that while you're timing, what screen is it on? I think it's this one. Yeah, the live export right here is checked off, which means, hey, go ahead and do the live export, and those files will be sitting out there automatically. So I'm not going to get too much more into that. I just wanted to show you can dynamically create any kind of file export you need. And you can even have them to where they're exported in real time as you're timing, so that if you needed to have some kind of interface with another platform, you can do that. Okay, the last thing, and we're going to just gloss over this too because this is a feature that is really powerful, and you can do a lot, but the majority of you probably won't touch. Now, when I show you how to do it, then maybe you will. But so the first thing, let's imagine you want to add your own logo to a report, for example, or you wanted to get rid of one of the columns. Maybe you've got one race, and in fact, here's an example. I know I think Scotland, they're like really big on, hey, we want to for certain races not show genders because we want it to be gender neutral, right? We want to have a non-binary race or whatever, and so maybe they don't want genders listed on any of the reports. And of course, you may have some races where you want to have it listed, and so you may want to have a custom report just for non-gender results. And so you can come over here to your reports tab, and you can say, well, hey, now I've got a few customs here. I need overall results, the classic one. I'm gonna copy this one. Okay. So what's going to happen is you're going to have a new overall results down here, and I could have done copy and set as default, which means, hey, from now on, don't use the program's default reports. Use my new one I've created. Okay. So I can come in here and say, let me get rid of gender. Now it looks like I may have to split this column, whatever, or I could simply say, let me just get rid of the text in there. There we go. I can get rid of this, and let's see what expression is in here. Yeah, so it's simply saying, if it's then do. So it's getting a male count. So I can get rid of all this and not have it show anything. I can do whatever. So the thing is, you can come in here, you can even add columns, and you can change this report. You have full development access to the reports, the same as I do. So there's crazy stuff you can do in here if you're a little bit of a developer or just want to get in here and dabble, see what you can do. This is all like basically VB.NET code or very similar. I tried to give you access to every possible field I thought you might need. You can actually see all the fields here. Data sources fields. So this is all the fields here. And so the point I'm trying to make is you can customize this any way you want. If you wanted to if you want to change the whole, if you put a watermark in the background, if you wanted to, I've got a video here. In fact, under video demo, it shows you how to add your own logo on this thing. But yeah, this is the main thing I want to show you in this video is how to actually do your customization. You do not want to double click on a report here and change it. So for example, if I double click on this one under the default reports, I can change it, but the problem is every time you update the software, it'll overwrite your default reports with whatever I provided in the installer. Okay, so if you want to make a custom report, what you want to do is you want to right click, and if you want it to be your new default, you do copy and set as default. Otherwise, if you just need a one-off report or a very rare report like the no genders or whatever, you can simply do copy, and it'll create one under the custom here. And then whenever you will need to use it, then you can come over here and say, well, for this race I've got coming up, I'm going to select my custom one. So in the short term, I'm going to set it as this is a report to use this coming weekend. Now, when this race is over, you can come in here and I think you can, just come in here and wipe this out. So I'm going to come in here and clear this, and now it's going to go back to using my default. Okay. Now let's say you come in here and you customize a report and you totally butcher it and it doesn't even work anymore. You can come in here and say, well, delete this report. I think there's I thought there was a restore option, but it looks like you just can simply delete it. But I can rename this and call this like overall results, no gender, or anything I need. Okay. And what's nice is I can actually email this to another race timer using this program, and they can pull it in, throw it in under their custom reports, which I can do by, I think there's the restore option. Oh, import report right here. So I can pull in a report you email me and use it. And then what else? So yeah, the whole key concept is the software is going to use whatever is listed here if you've got a custom one, but if it's blank, it'll use the default reports which come with the program. If you need to edit reports, don't edit these. You want to right click and copy and then edit your copy. Okay. Now any custom reports you make, you have access to from the custom list here. So whenever I added a custom report here, you see I right click, let's do the bib member sheet, and I do copy. So now there's a bib member sheet custom. If I go to any race under reports, got bib member. Now, the only time you need to set the report up over here is this is whenever this report is your default, which means whenever you're timing a race, first of all, if I click on the report here, it'll use whatever I have as the default in settings, okay? If I'm timing a race, and let's say I select that no gender overall results report as the default for the overall results classic one, then if I click on overall results here, it'll use your custom one. Again, only if you select that report here, okay? So I hope this makes sense. There is a custom folder on your computer that you can navigate to, and it puts you there by default. So if you wanted to use a custom one, I can even use team results as default from an overall results report. You see what I'm saying? Like, who knows if that'll work or not, but I'm just saying you can select any report. And so if you wanted to have one with sponsors on it one week, and maybe you change those sponsors out every week, you can have a custom one just for that. So I just want to show you how that works. I think you can left click. There's one of these to get rid of that easy. What is it? Maybe it's double click. I thought there was. I guess you have to manually come in here and get rid of it this way, but that puts you back. And the instructions down here tell you exactly what all you can do. But I just want to show you how to make, because this is one of the common questions when people do go to. I've seen people modify their defaults and then email me and say, "Hey, where'd my customizations go?" I'm like, "Oh, well, the defaults explains it all up here. You're not supposed to edit these." Now, I did make it to where you can. So if you've got some case where you just want a temporary one weekend thing, you can modify these. But really the idea is that you create a copy, you modify your default, and then from that point you can either use it here under view reports and the custom, or if you need access to it from the clock screen, then you want to make it to where that is your default report over here. I hope that's not terribly confusing, but that's all I had for you today. This is, again, another 3-hour one. Next week is going to be just Q&A. So if nobody jumps on, it'll be real short. But I know a few questions that were sent last week that I don't know if I've answered yet. So I'm going to dig through to see if there's anything I haven't answered. And obviously we'll see what questions come up throughout the week. But we'll tackle that. If there's very few people and someone needs me to remote in and actually work on something, I'll just have it to where y'all watch me remote in and work on something. If it's something, maybe the guy can't get his reader connected. Well, then you can watch and see what all do I do to configure and try to see how can I get this reader working. Because usually it's just a handful of things and it's going. I think there's 2 people in the last day and a half or so that I jumped on their computer and I ran through a bunch of things and got their computer, for the first time, reading and working, and they were just blown away. So we'll just see what next week is. Hopefully it'll be a short one. But I appreciate y'all sticking with us. If you watched all 3, hope you learned something and hope you enjoyed it. So thanks.